Hey guys, welcome back to another podcast issue where we're going to be talking about comic book collecting tips. This is going to be issue number 9, and I'm Chris from comiXalliance.
And I'm Joe, also from comiXalliance.
And to start off, the topic that we're going to be going over is going to be why to collect comic books, basically. Um, so the whole reason why we, or at least Joe and I, love collecting comic books is for the stories, basically, for the characters that we grew up with, either watching on TV or seeing in books or TV shows and whatnot, or movies. We decided to go in this medium or format to get more lore for the characters that we love and the stories that have been written by amazing creative teams, such as for like writers and artists and whatnot. And part of the reason why I chose this medium is because I love reading, but I also like looking at artwork. And it's the best combination of putting both those two together in one solid format where you don't even have to worry about having electricity to read this medium or to enjoy this medium. And just enjoying the artwork and writing between these books. It's just a whole different experience because you don't have to worry about how actors sound. Like, you create that own your own voice in that story, and you don't have to worry about how the effects are, or how sound effects are affecting the stories and stuff. That's all done in written format, which is great because you could either read a book really fast, or you could slow it down without having to press any buttons, or be stuck on one pacing based upon how something is recorded, like with a movie or a TV series. On a comic book, you could slow or go or read the book really fast based upon your preference. So that's a few of the reasons why I decided to start collecting and reading comic books. How about you, Joe?
Very similar to what you're saying. I love the whole imagination aspect, like you were saying, how a lot of the stuff is done for you in movies and video games and stuff, and much like an actual book, like a novel. You got to create a lot of this in your head. This does give you a little more than a novel, where it gives you the pictures and the way these characters look outright, and you get to see their actions, but you got to put a lot of the sound effects and the voices, how you'd imagine this character sounding. Like a good example is I'd never read Cosmic Ghost Rider until recently, and I just instantly, from like the first few word bubbles, put like this kind of sarcastic, kind of like smart ass sort of tone in my head from the first few bubbles that I started reading of him, and it turned out that's kind of his personality. And it's just kind of nice to be able to like let your imagination kind of take over, but also still reading something that's structured. That also comes from my love for writing. Being someone who's like written stuff off and on, since I was a kid, and nothing famous or nothing published for anyone wondering. For the two people who might listen to this, sorry, I shouldn't insult us. No, but yeah, like, so just coming from someone who comes from that background, it's just something that I loved, and it lets me kind of use my own experiences and like my own things in, like, put that into somebody else's work. And then my other part of that is I cannot draw. I like completely unable to draw anything even remotely, like, I can't even think of the word, like, I want to say coherent, but that's when you're speaking. The equivalent. I don't know why I'm drawing a blank on that word. But like, when you look at it, like, I couldn't draw anything. Like, I couldn't even draw like the flash symbol if I tried. And so for someone who has, such like an abysmal artistic ability, to be able to look at, so many
Mhm.
pages of art, and just different expressions across so many different characters' faces, even all by a single artist, it fascinates me beyond anything. Like, it's something I can't comprehend that I've seen people in my own family be able to do. Like I have a niece who paints casually and she's amazing. Like she does such good artwork. And like my own brother has always been able to like sketch and just do like quick mock-ups when he was younger, and he's now a tattoo artist.
Yeah.
Like I this is an ability that like I completely lack, and it bums me out. So that's just another reason why I love comic books is like I get to stare at the equivalent of art pieces and covers, and then just constant like art throughout the whole issue, and it just like I said, it just adds a new level for me.
Yeah, I completely agree. Just from my experience, I did take, well, actually when I was a kid, I used to love drawing. So when I came across comic books, I didn't know that you could, take artwork or pictures together and put it in a reading order and add dialogue to it to make it a compelling story where you could still use your imagination, but like depending on the artist, how the artist depicts like the characters and how the story is told was kind of unforetold from my experiences growing up until I picked up a comic book or just picture books in general. Um, I did take a comic book appreciation class or comic book 101 or something, and back in high school, and I thought it was really cool because the teacher loved comics as well, but he definitely changed our perspective on how we look at comic books, because when a lot of me and my friends growing up, we read nothing but superhero comic books, so just Marvel and DC. He actually introduced us to a lot of indie titles, a lot of the kind of like the history of comic books and comic book strips, and how it it evolved from that time to where it is now. Well, at least back then in like 2004 or whatever. And we actually ended up creating a comic book club for the school, which was great. And I believe it's still standing to this day.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's actually really
So
cool to like have been a part of something like that.
yeah, it was great. We actually raised a bunch of money for it and did not do anything with it. So it actually just rolled over to the next generation or next year.
That's awesome. Yeah, well, you did something
Mm.
good. I'm sure you made a bunch of kids happy.
Oh yeah, definitely. Um, yeah, so that's pretty much our reasons for getting into comic book collecting. So next,
Well,
uh,
did
or
not
did you have anything to add?
well, I wanted to say that's more about why we love comic books, but why we got into collecting specifically. Like
Oh, right, right.
why do we hoard these comic books? Uh, part of it is kind of what you mentioned is it's a hobby that you don't need electricity. You don't need to make sure your comic book is charged. It's something that I can always have with me. Like I can take certain collected formats. Whenever I'm at home, I can always just grab a comic book and read it. It's some of them are quick, short reads. And that's why I like to have this large amount. I know it seems weird. I can put them
Mm,
on my phone as we've mentioned. I just don't personally like that format as much.
yeah,
But why I like amassing these collections is it's unlimited entertainment.
yeah.
That's the big reason. And I bought my first Omni a couple days ago. It was the
Congratulations.
thank you. I always thought it was going to be a Marvel one. It ended up being a DC. It's the Flashpoint Omni. Pretty
Yeah,
happy
yeah.
and pretty excited to jump into it. I haven't even taken it out of the shrink wrap, but I love stuff like
Omnis even include like a lot of the variant covers in there, so you could enjoy
yeah,
it all in a piece of paper without having to worry about damaging that.
exactly. Another half of the reason I love collecting is some of the stuff ends up being worth quite a bit of money, and not that I'm never one to sell my stuff, but I do love the idea of trading. So I'm not opposed to selling anything I have. I've never sold a comic book that I've owned, but I'm not opposed to it. But I like it because sometimes you get something, you've read it a few times, or you scored a second copy by accident, or you just happen to be the right place, right time, cover price on this thing, or dirt cheap, and it ends up spiking. and you don't need two copies of something, you know.
Yeah.
Perfect example is you were looking for a Legends of the Dark Knight number one,
Yeah.
or the one shot, and I was looking for uh the Three Jokers number two, 1 and 25,
Yeah.
and we just traded. So that's another reason why I like collecting, you know, is it helps me trade and build my collection if I collect beyond what I actually want, if that makes sense. Like there's
Yeah,
the issues
totally.
I want, and then there's stuff that I grab if I'm there. But I don't collect just to sell. Like there's some people who do that and
Yeah,
kind of hurts for everybody else, you know.
it does.
Yeah, so that's a bummer, but that's my reason for collecting that stuff. I don't know about
Yeah.
you, and feel free
Yeah,
to jump in if you have
which
anything
is
to
funny
add.
that you mentioned that too, because honestly, I haven't had, or it's been a really long time where I actually took something that I own and just did a straight up trade with someone. It's most of the time it's just people wanting to buy it, but for having someone to be able to trade and stuff, I thought that was a really fun and throwback experience, because we did a lot of that, especially during the 90s. You
Yeah,
whether it be trading video games or specifically trading cards was really big in the 90s. Whether it be sports cards or even Marvel and DC comic book trading cards and stuff, or Pokemon
magic
cards as well.
cards.
Magic cards is a big one.
Yeah, yeah. Like,
Yeah.
and you and I, we didn't grow up together, oddly enough, but we have very similar backgrounds when it comes to that. You know, we were
Yeah.
into a lot of the same concepts, and something we both did a lot was we traded, because we come from a generation where, you know, there weren't things like Craigslist, you know, that started this, or eBay, I should say, then Craigslist,
Yeah.
and then, you know, like OfferUp and 5 Mile or whatever it's called. You know, we
Yeah.
didn't have these like options, so it was trading with kids at school. Like, hey, like I have this comic book, let me have that,
Yeah.
and you can have this, or hey, like I
Yeah.
have this vinyl record. You know, like I was at like whatever record store and I found it. Like, you want to trade me
Yeah.
for this one? You know, and because I grew up, you know, in a lot of music and trading vinyl and stuff too through like high
Nice.
school, so that was kind of just an extension of like my childhood that is now
Yeah.
an extension of my adulthood back in the comics.
That's awesome. I think my first experience of like trading anything ever was food. Like
Food,
back
yeah,
in the, in elementary school, like, oh,
yeah, of course,
you got a candy bar, or I'll trade you my slice of pizza for that or something.
yeah, of course. Everybody
Yeah.
trades food in high school
Yeah.
or in elementary.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah,
And
no,
then
but
but to jump back a little bit into why I decided to collect comic books, I actually collected a bunch of different formats when it comes to entertainment, and that is movies, video games, video or board games and trading card games, comic books, novels, all that stuff. And I found myself always running out of room, especially since I don't have my own big house yet. So anytime I would have to move out or move somewhere else new, it's such a hassle to lug everything together when I have huge amounts of collections of like all those formats. And I had to sit myself down one day and just really talk about what what I enjoyed the most and the reason why I enjoy all those types of entertainment. um, and I narrowed it down to stories. Like when I watch movies or watch TV shows or play video games, read novels and stuff, it's all about the story. But in regards to enjoying or trying to choose which format I want to collect for, I ended up uh sticking with comic books because like we said, like compared to watching movies or watching TV shows, you don't really need electricity for it, and you don't have to worry about like actors being bad in in comic books. It's the way that they're written and how you perceive them when you experience that story. So that's the whole big reason why I decided to collect comic books, is because it's the number one entertainment that I definitely enjoy, besides music. But I just needed to narrow that down so I could pretty much filter all my other formats of collections so I could save room for the actual things that I really love. And comic books is definitely it, because I was starting to run out of space with all my video games, movies, and all that. I decided to convert almost all of that to digital content instead.
Yeah, I have a quite a bit of digital content when it comes to video games as well. I still buy some
Hmm.
physical stuff if I find
Yeah.
like a nice deluxe or collector's edition. I don't
Hmm.
collect any like the big like $200 ones anymore when they come around.
Yeah.
Unless it's like a Dark Souls, then I usually make that exception. But
Yeah.
like I got rid of like all my music, it just went all
Yeah.
digital with it. I
Yeah.
sold a ton of it. I lost a ton of it in that
Hmm.
situation
Yeah.
back in 2015. That's actually a big reason that I got into digital formats with stuff was
Yeah.
after like losing everything. I was just like, I don't want to have to like rebuy it all,
Yeah, man.
So I switched to Spotify for most of my music,
Yeah, same
and
here.
then I buy the occasional like vinyl here and there, like
Yeah.
just something stands out, or something's
Hmm.
just like way too cool. But I don't go looking for like the old vinyl that's like 30-40 dollars, and it
Yeah.
came out
Yeah.
in like the 70s. I
Yeah.
don't go looking for that stuff anymore, or like the $100 $200 like first pressings of stuff.
Yeah. Is
uh,
there actually a because I was actually thinking about getting into collecting vinyl, but I don't see the I guess the is there are there any big benefits besides enjoying the art and maybe the type of sound that it produces?
so as someone who's collected vinyl like in
Yeah.
large quantities over the years,
Yeah.
anything I would say that's like semi-modern, like maybe post like 90s,
Yeah.
maybe even some of the 90s.
Hmm.
Anything, okay, here we go. This is a better way to put it. Anything recorded digitally
Yeah.
sounds pretty much identical between CD and vinyl. So you
Right.
want stuff that was recorded on like old analog systems, like
Oh, gotcha.
but anything that's recorded digitally, they're like a computer of sorts. Like it's all
Hmm.
gonna sound the same, whether it be vinyl or CD or Spotify.
Is it
But
the same thing like when you watch like a really old either 80s or 90s movie and you watch it on a straight CRT TV and a VCR versus like watching it on Blu-ray?
exactly.
Oh, okay.
Um, so like Blu-ray is going to be the more convenient way to watch it, but
Yeah.
watching like an old like VHS,
Yeah.
on like a VCR on an old CRT, it's going to give you
Yeah.
the most.
Like
But
original experience, right?
here's the thing: you don't necessarily want because well, okay, so with movies, you're kind of taking away from the quality, and you want the visuals to like pop out.
Yeah.
So you would want to go with like an HD TV,
Yeah.
particularly like 4K. You'd want like the DVD enhanced, stuff like that. But with music, it's a more like raw and like crisp sound. So it it's actually you're losing quality by having it run through a digital format. So
Gotcha.
it's opposite but same concept, if that makes
Right,
sense.
right. Yeah, that totally makes sense.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so one you would do for nostalgia factor, so it still makes sense to do it and you still want to
Yeah.
do it. Like I would much rather watch Star Wars movies,
Yeah.
all new editing aside, but I would just rather watch like the old like Star Wars movies, on VHS through an old CRT, because it
Yeah.
would be like crazy nostalgia. But something that was recorded analog and then run through digital format, to play on a CD, in 2000 like 20 or 21,
Yeah.
you're losing quality. It's like pulling away from the original sound that the band had in mind, because
Yeah.
they wrote this music at a time when that's how music sounded. It was
Right.
mixed and mastered to sound the specific way because it was the technology that they had. So you're getting
Right.
a really like raw, crisp, sound out of that. And that's why I like that.
Nice.
So that's
No,
a
that
whole other podcast.
yeah.
We could
I'll,
talk about music on a whole other podcast if you want. But
yeah, for sure.
I forgot where I was going with that. Oh yeah, so I was going. That's where like I switched all my music, and that's why like I still buy the occasional vinyl record, just to
Yeah.
have, just because it's fun, but I'm
Right.
never gonna amass something like I used to. I'm
Yeah.
dumping all that money and space pretty much that I have to comic books because
Gotcha.
reasons previously mentioned.
Yeah. Awesome. So, and the one last thing I want to add to why I decided to collect comic books also is, um, even though there's characters that are that have their own stories and runs, there's always different creative teams that that can tell a different story for each character and its unique way of writing style and even artwork being told through the years. So even though there's a creative team that wrote Flash back then and Flash now, you could, you have a multitude of different varieties that you can choose from to really enjoy, as opposed to just, just one run or one comic book, or depending on what format you're enjoying that character on, you're not stuck to just one set.
Yeah, like for example, if say like you don't like, say you've read like one Flash
Yeah.
like run and you're just like, this is terrible, but
Yeah.
it's the only Flash you've ever read. There's been like 40 other writers who have written Flash,
Yeah.
so like, and they've all done their own take. Now if Flash's powers is something you don't like, say
Yeah.
you don't like the name Barry Allen, I don't know why that would be an issue, but let's just
Yeah.
throw some random things out there why you might not like it.
Yeah.
There's other than like trivial things like that, if you just didn't like the stories, you didn't like where it went, it's kind of like movies in that regard, I guess.
Yeah.
But there's more of it. So if you didn't like it, you can give another writer's take on Flash, a try, and you might love it.
Yeah.
A good example why I compared it to movies is I I get hate for this, but I do not like Tim Burton's Batman. I
Mhm.
don't like, Val Kilmer as Batman. I don't like George Clooney as Batman. I didn't like any of those movies,
Mhm.
but I love the Christopher Nolan films.
Oh yeah, those are
You know,
amazing.
yeah, and so think of that in comic book terms of like actual like written issues. This rarely happens with movies. We're lucky with a couple of these
Yeah.
superhero movies that they were written over and over and over.
Yeah.
Batman terrible, Batman Returns terrible, whatever, so on. Batman Begins amazing. Now comics, same idea. You might not like, I'm not a Fantastic Four fan.
Mhm.
I'm not gonna sit here and rip on Fantastic Four, but not a fan. But I'm sure if I like, found a certain arc written by a certain person, it might like suck me in, and I might be like, man, that was some good Fantastic Four.
Donny Cates.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like maybe if Donny Cates writes some Fantastic Four coming up, like,
Yeah.
maybe I'll go all in on it because I trust
Yeah.
his writing, and
Mhm.
he writes characters the way that I like. And
Yeah.
like, yeah, the argument, like I said, could be used like, oh, well, movies do this from time to time. Nowhere on the scale that
Yeah.
comics, you might have like, say, Jeff Johns does like a 3-issue run, and
Mhm.
then like uh Scott Snyder does, like 2 years later, like a whole like ongoing series, that lasts 4 years or two
Yeah.
years, whatever. And then that ends. And then I don't know, I can't even think of somebody else right now, but let's just say like some other guy picks it up and does another like 12-issue run. You're talking like 4 or 3 completely different creative teams that are all going to be completely different. And I love
Yeah.
that, and that's why kind of like what you said,
Mhm.
collecting, it's my way to go with, or I'm sorry, collecting comics is my way to go with medium, because there's so many options, there's
Yeah,
so
exactly.
much. And that's just like with one character or one, team, or whatever, like however you
Yep.
want to call it.
Yeah.
So
Awesome. So what's the next comic book collecting tip that we want to go
so
over?
this one I think you're gonna want to probably go over more, because
Oh
I
yeah.
don't I don't have one in mind, but it's,
For the goals, right?
yes, having a goal. The
Yeah.
only reason I don't feel I'm gonna chime in on this is I don't really have a goal. My goal is just to amass as much as possible and, just leave to future kids.
Well, this should be a great topic for you then, and hopefully I could help you out on that.
Nah,
So,
no. The more I have, the better my life is. No, sorry, go on.
I could definitely help you out on that. Go on the deep end.
Yeah, I know, right?
But All right. So on the goal or the topic of having goals when it comes to comic book collecting, you definitely want to set that for yourself, or you'll be in Joe's shoes, basically collecting everything and anything, because this guy has all the space and all the money for it.
I don't actually.
Yeah,
I
he's gonna
wish.
be putting his comics in the backyard and front yard, and
Who says
some
I'm
at my
not?
place. But yeah, when you get into it, you want to try to tell yourself like how many or how much comic books do you want to collect, which which characters you want to collect, like is your comic book collection for entertainment, for to make money only, or or amassing a library so you could share these experiences with your friends and whatnot. There's a whole different reason, or a whole lot of reasons to have a goal for when it comes to collecting comic books. And and the whole reason why you want to have a goal is so that you're not you're not jumping everywhere and just collecting anything just to have a collection. You want to have a collection that you appreciate and that you love, versus just getting a comic book just because you want comic books in your shelf. It's kind of like putting it's just like fillers, like when you watch like a TV series and stuff, or even anime or cartoons and whatnot. You don't want to have like fillers like that. You want to have quality in your collection and have a goal in mind to attain that. And when you do that, when you go out every month or every week to collect comic books, you have a more focused drive and know what you want, as opposed to just jumping in and just getting whatever, and then all of a sudden you're like, oh, I don't really like this comic book that much, or I have no idea what this is, but it's in my collection. You're gonna end up wasting a lot of money that way, and where you could have put a lot of that money towards something that you really wanted in the future. So that's the whole reason why having a goal is very important. For me, I my goal is to have at least three of these big bookshelves filled with all the stuff that I really like, and and having the time to read and reread a lot of these stories, because I don't want to just have something in my collection and read once, experience it once, and just have it sit there. It's something I know I'm gonna want to reread in the future, and that's I guess continued entertainment versus just a one and done. It's same thing with movies. Like if I watch a movie, or if I watch and buy a movie, I don't want to just I watch it, I loved it, and then buy that movie and just leave it on my shelf and never watch it again. That doesn't make sense to me. Besides having that item and being able to reminisce on how I felt about watching that movie or reading that book, I want to be able to re-experience and have the same joy that I did when I first read it and whatnot. So for my goal for my collection, yeah, like I said, is to have at least three or four of these, depending on how big of a space I'll have in the future. Right now, I have a big enough space for three of these bookshelves, and I definitely want to fill it with a multitude of variety of comic books that I do want to read and enjoy, and that also includes manga. Actually, when it comes to Japanese formats for comic books. So, and I decided to go on the collected editions route versus the floppies, even though I do have floppies, but that's a whole nother topic that we're going to get into a little bit later.
You're welcome.
So yeah, yeah, like I said, having a goal and choosing what goal you want to have to start that collection will help you be more focused and save you a ton of money in the future.
Um, I guess to some degree, I probably do have a light goal,
Yeah.
and it's to kind of start focusing my collection more. And
Mhm.
when we joke that like I buy anything and everything, I don't really buy anything and everything. Like I don't have
No.
anything from the new Fantastic Four run that wasn't part of the King in Black.
Yeah.
I don't have, just like a ton of like just random things that like I've never even heard of. I grab a couple things that look kind of interesting here and there, but
Yeah.
I don't actually just buy everything. I do try to keep
Mhm.
it kind of centered around stuff that, you know, I do know, characters I'm familiar with,
Yeah.
things that like are recommended to me from people I trust, like you.
Mhm.
Um, but that's usually the stuff that I buy that I'm not familiar with, unless like a specific cover catches my eye.
Yeah.
And I just buy it for the artwork, kind of like what I mentioned a few weeks back with that cover for Mercy,
Oh yeah, yeah.
from Merca and Dolfo, like things like that. But I typically don't go as nuts as you made it seem. I do buy a lot of random stuff because I'm always willing to at least
Try it out.
give. Yeah, and
Yeah.
I think I mentioned this before. So one goal I guess I have, that I will kind of mention is, while I'm collecting and I'm keeping it centered, I have no problem adding a number one of something I've never heard of to my collection, like something that wasn't on my radar, or
Right, right.
something that's like a new series, or I'm sorry, like a series, like an old series coming back, or a new writer picking up a series and doing a number one. I'll grab that number one just to check it out, see if it's
Yeah,
something that's worth adding onto my collection.
of
And
course.
if not, like I'll keep the number one. I won't get rid of it, but I won't continue. So I guess in a sense, my goal is to not only have it grow,
Hmm.
but to introduce new things,
To the
but
collection,
not,
yeah.
yeah, but not go off the deep end with it anymore. Because I've had some times where I've done that, where I'm just like, yeah, I'm gonna buy like all of these because
Yeah.
why not?
I definitely got a little bit of that experience when we started collecting together, actually. Because before I uh, caught up with you after a few years, I was strictly only collecting collected editions,
Yeah,
and before that, I wasn't really collecting the floppies. And I found myself jumping into it and just collecting a ton of different runs and a ton of different issues just because I like the cover. But even though I started collecting those covers and whatnot, I found myself just putting those covers in a box and not fully enjoying it. I'm like, oh, this is a great cover, all of the same book, and it takes up so much space in my box, and and I haven't had a chance to really enjoy those covers by displaying them. They all go in the box, and then I completely forget I even have it because they're all stored away, unfortunately. But honestly, like when you have a goal when it comes to collecting comic books, your goal will slowly change while you're doing it, so you have to be mindful about like how your goal is and how it's changing, whether you want to stay on that track or change it into a different track. Because from my experience with you, when I started collecting floppies, I'm like, oh, maybe I do want to collect floppies. So I started going on the deep end and buying all the supplies for it, and choosing a bunch of different indie series and Marvel and DC series, and starting. I found myself collecting a ton of floppy issues now, and now like I have probably close to, I don't know, over 500 issues or floppies, versus when I started this collecting journey, I was only dedicated to collected editions. So now I have a combination of both the floppies and collected editions, which is great because you introduced me to that experience again, and the fun of hunting and collecting single issues.
yeah. You got me into the collected editions too. Like I think I maybe by the time we caught up and started like hanging out again, I think I
Yeah,
had like four trade paperbacks, and it was things that
yeah,
like I couldn't find outside of trade paperbacks in like an
yeah,
entire run. And I was like, I want to read
right,
this now. Like I don't want to wait like 4 months for me to track things down. So I bought a
yeah,
trade here and there.
yeah,
But it was only like very, very select things, and my collected editions have grown by my amount. Like I said, I bought my first Omni,
mhm,
and it's definitely not going to be my last. That thing is
yeah.
awesome. Like just to
It
like,
is.
I haven't even opened it. And that thing is awesome
Yeah.
to just sit there and like look at, and just hold it and like see how heavy it is.
Oh yeah, dude.
Uh,
It even looks awesome on the bookshelf.
no, it looks amazing on a bookshelf.
Yeah.
There you go. Found another goal. My
Yeah,
Omni collecting.
nice.
That I'm good. That I'm going to keep extremely focused.
Yeah,
Very
yeah,
specific things. I'm not like I've seen a bunch of Omnis out, like
yeah,
shopping, and I could have bought any number of them, but I'm
yeah,
not going to do that. Like I'm going to buy a very specific. I might do it with characters that I don't own a lot of stuff from. Like I don't own a lot
mm,
of Daredevil. I don't
yeah.
own a lot of Punisher. So maybe I'll just like go grab like entire runs of like those characters. Since I don't own a lot of Flash either, so that kind of worked out.
Nice.
So maybe that would be like my goal.
Yeah, and
Like
I'm actually super happy that you got into that because I know you're on the same boat as me where we just wanna enjoy these stories to read, you know,
exactly.
and we don't necessarily want to go through the digital route because we love you know having things tangible when it comes to reading something or enjoying entertainment. So just going through the collected editions route, you don't have to worry about trying to find these specific issues where you're having to hunt for issues that's been out for years already and is just so difficult to find. And on top of that, once you do find it, it might be way over the cover price just
Oh
because you know
yeah.
this because due to supply and demand. And having the trade paperbacks or hardcovers or omnibus collections just puts everything together in one whole book to enjoy the whole run or story is
Yeah.
definitely a cool experience.
Yep. So I think we've covered the goal concept because we're kind of getting into like territory we've talked about a little bit
Oh
in the past.
yeah.
I don't want to get back too far into that and make people think we're just repeating ourselves.
Yeah.
Although I repeat myself all the time. Like I repeat myself all, I'm just kidding.
Like your love
Uh,
for Spider-Man.
yes. Have I told anyone how much I love Spider-Man?
You haven't, no.
Okay, so starting with Spider-Man. I'm just kidding. So the next topic, where to collect. I know this sounds like obvious, like oh, find my local comic book store.
Yeah.
Um, yes, but it goes beyond that. So part of the reason my collection is as giant as it is, and how I've dumped so much so stupid amounts of money into this thing is I use other sources outside of comic book stores. Go to places like if you're in Southern California, like Frank and Sons is one of them. This is if you're looking for like some guys there sell like current modern stuff, but if you're looking to like get some like golden age, silver age, you know,
Oh yeah.
bronze age, looking for like limited edition stuff, you can go to that. It's like a collectible trade show that
Hmm.
has stuff. Amazon is another one if you're looking for like collected editions, things like that. So there are other routes to go. So just we'll expand on this a sec. I'm just making it a point so people don't just tune out like, oh, comic book stores, these guys are dumb. Um, so there is more beyond that. Plus, getting to know people is
Yeah.
another thing. Like I've traded with people. I've bought stuff online. I know this might sound weird, but like I've bought stuff like through guys on Facebook and comic book groups, as well as on Reddit. There's a level of trust that you have to kind of watch out for using like PayPal. I know that sounds super sketch, but you do a thing called what was it? It's not friends and family. Friends and family is how you get screwed, I think.
Mm.
There's like two different types of payments they can request, or a couple. They send you a payment request for one of them, and it protects the buyer, not the seller.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what you want to look out for. If people say like, "Oh, friends and family only,"
Yeah.
avoid that person because that dude is going to scam you because you pretty much are telling PayPal, "I know this guy, I
Yeah.
trust this guy, and I don't need any protection."
Yeah. You're pretty
You
much
know,
waiving your protection at that point.
exactly. And reason is, it also waives any seller fees.
Yeah.
So the seller gets to take all the money. So if you do it the other way, there's more risk for the seller to rip you off.
Hmm.
So that's one way. Like I've gotten some key issues. I know people have like I know a bunch of people who like sell used omnis sometimes. They don't sell them for like dirt cheap, but thing comes out, $125. If it's not one that's like skyrocketed, they might
Yeah.
sell them for like $80, 75, 50, depending
Yeah,
on condition.
I feel like they tend to have a little bit like of a better deal on and on those comic book groups on Facebook or Instagram and whatnot. And they usually understand the ridiculousness of eBay prices. So
Oh yeah,
so
that's
they're
exactly why I use this route. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Finish what you're
yeah.
saying.
Oh no, you're good. Yeah, that's just what I wanted to touch on. Like, if you try to purchase some of this stuff like through comic book groups as opposed to just eBay, you have a better chance of getting a better price and better service on there compared to seller on eBay. But I mean, eBay is also another platform that you can buy comic books, because if you can't find it anywhere else, just most of the time you'll be able to find it there eventually.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. Some of the groups I use, I spend. This is a personal recommendation, so anyone listening who's like, "Oh, what an idiot," or "Oh, I'm going to jump into Facebook and start buying, some rare variants for cheap." Uh, I hung out in these groups for about 2 to 3 months before I started buying stuff. I started watching. I would have like notifications set when, things would go up, or people post like all the time. So like your phone might go
Yeah,
off all the time if you do this. But so I set it, just to keep track, like who's selling, like who's reputable, stuff
yeah,
like that. And started learning like the different people who can be trusted. These guys like out scammers, like, and the groups have like no qualms with it. Like you can post this person's like picture, their name, like the conversation, everything, and just put like, be on the lookout for this guy, like don't buy from
yeah,
him, tell a story about what happened. They do expect you to like back it up with some proof, like the conversation,
yeah,
proof that like you were blocked by them, stuff like that. And usually the scammer ends up popping up in the group trying to defend himself, gets outed, and then banned. And it's nice to know that the community kind of looks after each other that way.
yeah.
And so I
That's good.
don't, yeah, exactly. So I don't fear buying stuff like that. I would never drop $1,000 on a comic through a group like that, though. That still scares me. You know?
Yeah,
uh,
that's a whole other level.
yeah, but anything that's like 10, $20, like it doesn't worry me, like maybe even $30. Like it doesn't worry me so much. Not that I have, $30 to lose, but it's better than
Yeah,
losing a grand,
yeah,
so, or, paying $80 for it on eBay or something,
yeah. Yeah,
so
another positive note on buying through comic book groups and whatnot is also just asking the community or the group, like, hey guys, I'm looking for this run or like this specific issue. Does anyone have that? And most of the time, everyone will like try to help you out. Like, oh, I have it, but I'm not selling it, or maybe I might sell it in the future, or people will say like, oh, we'll look out for you, like if I find it, and they'll contact you and
yeah.
let you know like, hey, like we were able to find this, like do you still need it or want it? And it's just easy communication.
Yep. And then another thing I like about these groups is you build kind of a light rapport with them. Not gonna know like your brother and sister's name and your
Yeah,
dog's name, but they're gonna know who you are. They're gonna recognize like your profile picture and who you are if you've been cool. And I've used these sometimes where I'm out at like a collectible type place.
yeah,
Uh, and if I find like a first printing or like a like a rare variant, and I'm not sure if that's the price it should be, and I'm sitting
yeah,
there like and I'm searching like eBay like sold and like Google's like shopping that has like the different places like online retailers that sell, and like I can't find a real price. Like I'm finding $20 on this side and $40 on this side, 180 on this, and I'm sure
yeah,
you've looked. Sometimes these prices are all over the place,
yeah,
and then this place might have it for like $60. I'm like I don't know if that's worth it. So I'll go
yeah,
into these groups and I'll be like, hey guys, like found this, I'll be like holding on to it if it's a place where I can hold on to it, or I'll ask them
yeah,
like, hey, can you hold this for like 10 minutes? Take a picture of it, post it, and just say like, hey guys, like found this. This is the price. Like, what do you think? Like, is
yeah,
it worth this much? And some of these guys have been in the game for like 40 years, and they're just like, nope. Like, don't pay any
Yeah.
more than $20 for that. And then sometimes the dude will pop in and be like, I'll sell you that thing for 30, shipping included.
Yeah.
And it's a reputable dude, who just hadn't posted it yet. So
Right.
sometimes they'll say, dude, that's an amazing deal. Like, grab that now, you
Yeah.
know. So that's why, kind of what I mentioned earlier, when you just think like, oh, where to buy, like comic book stores, like it goes far beyond this. Like it goes far
Yeah.
beyond like just comic book stores. And then another thing that I love to use is a website called My Comic Shop. You're
Yeah.
gonna go onto this website and you're gonna be like, this is some website straight out of like 1990, like one of the first websites ever made. Like, I'm about to get my credit card information stolen. Like, no comics are gonna show up at my house.
Yeah.
Like, it's so low budget looking.
Yeah.
Excuse me, but it's actually it's a really good site, and I like Shelby and I have ordered off that site a ton.
Nice.
We've and everything has shown up. Everything has shown up in the condition that it says. So I would definitely like above any other website that's not just like a comic book store selling their websites.
Yeah.
That's one to buy from.
Nice. I think
And
there's also a bunch of different comic book websites that are available for people to buy comics from. And for example, that's like 616 Comics. Oh shoot, what's another one?
are we talking?
Scorpion Comics. It's usually like comic book online stores where they'll because
Where they
I'm
have?
not where they'll
Sorry,
have a like a bunch of variants and stuff.
you're talking like wait, you cut out, so I'm gonna pause for a sec. Anything?
What happened? I
Okay.
think you froze.
Oh, you froze on my end, so I didn't
Oh,
want to
okay.
keep talking. So,
Oh, my bad.
but before you continue, were you talking like online retailers where they specialize in just like the equivalent of like a comic book store, or are you talking a very specific comic book store who sells their exclusive variants? Because there's like Unknown Comics, there's Scorpion, Midtown,
Yeah, those ones.
Big Apple, and there was another
Yeah.
one that we use that Shelby orders from. Uh, yeah, those are
I
great.
think Izzy's Comics. Yeah.
We've never used it. Those are really great options because some of
Yeah,
these stores end up with exclusive variants that you can only
they
get
do.
through them.
Yeah.
Obviously, that's what exclusive means.
Hmm.
So, and
Yeah.
where you and I are on the West Coast, some of these are East Coast, companies like
Yeah.
Midwest, East Coast. Like we never have a chance to get these if their
Yeah.
websites didn't exist. So definitely check some of those out.
Yeah. If you guys are looking for discounted like collected editions, like what Joe mentioned before, Amazon is another great platform. I've gotten plenty of collected editions delivered through Amazon, and a lot of people have had bad experiences when it comes to how they ship and deliver their books. But I've honestly only had one, and that was the TMNT Volume 3, I believe. And but all the other ones, like when it comes to omnibus editions and deluxe editions, like it's actually arrived pretty well packaged. Um, with a whole bubble air bubble wraps that they put in there. I've had no issues. Another couple sites that you could use are In Stock Trades and cheapgraphicnovels.com. They were really good before the pandemic. I'm not sure how they are now. I know they've slowed down, and their shipping just takes forever now for some reason. And I believe the pandemic impacted them, because before I would order something, get free shipping as long as I order over $50, and um, and I would get my books within, I don't know, like 7 days to 2 weeks, which is completely fine. There's no rush for me to get the books anyway, unless I really wanted it. Then I ordered it through Amazon Prime. But the way they package their books is very well packed, and I definitely trust both those sites when it comes to ordering books and hardcovers from them.
Question: when was the last time you ordered something from them? The one
From
you said, the one that you said has
it's
been taking a while.
In Stock Trades. The last time I ordered something from them was actually during the pandemic. Um, I think it might have been like April or July. That was probably like the last order that I've done.
Okay.
Until they I think it was only October or November when they started having issues. Because I remember a lot of the comic book shops have had issues delivering their stuff
Yeah.
also. So I think that might have a reason.
Well, I was asking because the one that I mentioned, the My Comic Shop, they
Yeah,
were taking like 3 weeks to order or
yeah,
to send an order,
yeah.
and Shelby had actually ordered them from them twice in 1 week,
Hmm.
and they came a day apart the following week.
Yeah,
So she ordered, say, like on Monday,
yeah.
and then again on Wednesday, and then they showed up the following like Tuesday and Wednesday or something like that.
Oh,
So
okay.
they're back on like a really fast normal schedule
That's
and
good.
not paying for expedited shipping or anything. So I'd imagine some of these other places might be. So I'm just
Yeah.
throwing that out there. So if anybody's like scared that like I'm gonna order this and it's gonna take forever, just order something small off there, give it a shot, just see what the
Yeah,
shipping's like.
or you can just contact them first, see how their orders have been doing. Because I've heard from other YouTubers and Instagram pages where they've been ordering through in stock trades and stuff, and it's been taking a while. But this was a few months ago, so hopefully it got better. So like I said, just email the company and ask them how their shipping process is, and if it's having any issues right now or not.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, don't be afraid to order from some of these sites.
Mhm.
They've
Yeah, no,
they've been
the
pretty
sites are
awesome.
great. They have like really good prices and really good quality shipping. It's just the shipping speed that I've been having issues with beforehand.
Yeah.
But yeah, definitely check those places out if you don't want to pay full cover price for that stuff.
To touch on what you said about Amazon, though, lately I've ordered quite a few collected editions from Amazon,
Oh,
and
nice.
literally everything came in great condition
Yeah.
except for those Hellboy ones.
Uh,
I did three separate
the
orders.
omnibus one or
Yeah, the ones that they're omnibus, but
yeah,
they're
yeah,
not really an omnibus.
yeah,
Uh, those. So I bought the first one from Undercity,
yeah,
and then I ordered 2, 3, and 4 separately, like
yeah,
literally like separate orders. Like I ordered one, the next day I
yeah,
ordered one, and so on. So they shipped them all together, which is fine.
yeah.
But you know how that you were talking about that bubble?
Hmm.
Uh, they sent that thing
Yeah.
with no air in it, laid flat across the top one, like it went across and kind of like dipped down the side
Oh,
of it.
yeah. Uh-huh.
And all three books were banged up,
Yeah.
and all the covers were scuffed. And
Oh
then the
man.
spines were scuffed on two of them.
Were you
They
able
were
to
bad.
do a return on it?
I did I had them ship like replacements for each,
Oh, okay,
and
that's good.
all three replacements came with
Yeah.
some damage, but damage I could just look past. I wasn't happy with it, but
Yeah.
yeah, it was kind of a bummer. So I'm just letting people know that Amazon's not immune to sending damaged product, but I
Yeah.
also mention it because they sent me replacements the next day.
Yeah.
Like I
They're really
like
good about
literally
that.
I got them and they were
Hmm.
here the next day. So
Yeah.
don't be worried about ordering collected editions. Like you might drop $100 on some collected editions,
Yeah.
and if they come damaged, they'll take care of you.
Yeah. And then the other place that Joe had already mentioned, which are comic book stores. You could get a bunch of different things from comic book shops, and the cool thing about ordering or buying off comic book shops is that you don't have to stick to one. You could jump into different comic book stores that might have different products or the same product, depending on how close you are to them. And the cool thing is you could just drive there and have it instantly in your hand once you buy
Yep.
it, so you don't have to worry about shipping or anything, or worry about having the product shipped damage or anything. You just
And
see it as is, and
yep.
you make that decision whether you want to get it or not.
Yep. And I bought one thing that was kind of bent, and I was like, whatever. I just want to read it.
Yeah.
It was like a second or third printing of like a Strange Academy issue. It was like that had like
Oh,
a
okay.
like fold in the corner, and I was like, whatever. Like
Yeah.
it's like a fourth printing or whatever. It's not gonna be worth
Yeah.
money,
Yeah.
you know.
Sweet.
Yeah. So I've made that decision here and there, but I just call
Yeah,
those my reading issues. You know,
nice.
I'll grab a first print later, if I find one, and I'll never open that thing.
Yeah,
And I just, if when I want to read it again, I'll just grab that bent one.
nice.
That's what he means, anyone listening, when that I just buy things. Just like, oh, I already have it. Looks like I'm gonna buy
Yeah,
another one.
yeah.
Like I have 3 copies of like all the crossover issues just because.
Did you want to go into double dipping now or later?
uh, that looks like, based on my list of bullet points, that is probably closer to the last thing we're going to talk about.
Got it. All right, cool.
So next up was what to collect, which I think we've touched on a little bit, but I guess just
Yeah,
to elaborate on some of this stuff. And this also kind of goes with what you're talking about with goals.
yeah.
What to collect, as
Mhm.
as Chris mentioned a bit ago. He started with collected editions, and I started with floppies, or single issues. Um, I'd suggest pick which one you think would be the best option for you. Don't try to jump into both at once. It gets overwhelming, financially, and
Yeah,
just like knowing what to read. You're buying like what, like 6, 7 issues, on one day, and then like 2, 3 trade paperbacks, like 6 issues each.
yeah,
You know, next thing you know, you have like 50 plus issues to read,
yeah,
and no time to read them. So, in terms of like what to collect, I would personally suggest, pick whichever format you like the best.
yeah.
You know,
I
I don't
completely
know if
agree.
you want to elaborate on it a little bit, if you have anything.
Yeah. So before you start jumping into collecting comic books, you want to decide which format and kind of educate yourself and do some research on what formats are available. We had a separate podcast issue about that. I think it was issue 2, where we talk about the different collected formats and whatnot. So just go on our channel and click on that video, and you could educate yourself on the different formats that are available. And for me, I think I have pretty much a little bit of every format available, and that is floppies, trade paperbacks, omnibus hardcovers, oversized hardcovers, absolute editions, deluxe editions. They have a whole plethora of different formats that you can read from. And once you choose that format, you can decide to start collecting that format. And mind you, some formats won't have all the stories available, if you know what I mean. Like, if you're looking for the format that has the most available, you're gonna have to choose floppies, because that's the ones that are produced first before they collected in a collected edition. Because usually, what they'll do is they'll release like anywhere between 4 to 8 issues, and then do a trade paperback collection of it before you can get that. So not every format is going to have all the stories and comics that you want to collect. But just based on my experience, I think the trade paperbacks are the best route when it comes to having all the stories available for a cheaper price, and um, for the ease of reading the books. And they're pretty durable from my experience. um yeah, that's I guess that's what I could share with that when it comes to what to collect, or what format to collect anyway.
Yeah, like I said, we've definitely touched on this, in more in depth, but I just wanted to kind of throw that out there, just like, what to collect in terms of, uh,
The formats.
like, well, not just so much format, like
Mhm.
have that specific idea in mind when you start, because if you try to do everything at once, you're probably going to burn yourself out.
Oh yeah.
No.
Oh yeah, and I
uh
completely forgot to mention digital formats as well, for
oh
those
yeah.
people that don't really mind reading comic books digitally. They definitely have like some subscription plans or monthly plans that they have available. Um, my top three are DC Universe, Marvel Unlimited, and comiXology. Those are probably the best ones to get into or start in. My best recommendation for the digital format is probably going to be comiXology, just because it has Marvel, DC, and a bunch of other indie publishers like Dark Horse, Image Comics, IDW, and whatnot.
And
So,
boom.
and if you and Boom, yeah, and if you have Amazon Prime, you already get that. You get the comiXology Unlimited, which gives you access to a handful of different comic books available. And then the ones that aren't available or part of the unlimited list, you could, end up buying it online.
Aren't they discounted too, or sometimes discounted if you have?
Yeah, sometimes they'll have sales and discounts, so you could watch out for that and just add it to your collection online. So, which is great. Um, Another thing to go over besides the deciding what format you want to collect on. After you choose that format, you want to choose what I guess what character you want to read up on, or what event, or what type of story that you want to get into, or what genre. Choosing the genre is very important too, because if you're not really into superheroes, there's not really a point in collecting in Marvel or DC, even though they
Yeah.
have some horror stories and whatnot. Not that much. You want to usually want to go through the indie route for that matter. So yeah, choosing the genre that you want to collect is very important, and going from there, once you choose the genre that you want to collect in, you want to do your research and see what publishers offer what, so you could dive into that. And I think from my experience, I think Image Comics has the best variety when it comes to having
Oh yeah.
different genres and stuff. Like they got superheroes, they got horror, they got action, thriller, mystery, um, indie, like slice of life type of books and stuff like that. They have everything.
Yep. They have a ton of different stuff. Image is an awesome publisher for that
Yeah,
reason. And not to say that obviously the other ones aren't awesome, but
yeah,
for just like that sheer variety alone, like you
yeah,
know, I think Image doesn't always, and this might sound bad, Image might not always offer the best for certain
mhm,
things, but it definitely offers the best variety.
yeah,
And when I say the best, I love some of their superhero stuff, but not all. Like there's like DC and Marvel have the better superhero stuff,
oh
and
yeah,
like
because
when
they're
you
because those publishers are very focused on mainly
exactly,
superheroes. So
and that's not to say that Image doesn't have great superhero stuff, like
yeah,
Radiant Black
and
alone.
Invincible.
Invincible, yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So that's not to say that you can't jump there for some good stuff, but
Hmm.
yeah, like he said, that's another good focus when it comes to like what to collect.
Yeah.
Pick, and that also stops you from or overwhelming yourself and just
Yeah.
buying too much. Like what is it, IDW? Like if you want like a nostalgia trip, like IDW has like a bunch of that stuff with like the turtles and stuff.
Yeah.
What else? They had something else. What was it?
Yeah,
Not GI Joe.
they have a lot of
Was it?
licenses when it comes to a lot of the Saturday morning cartoons and 80s cartoons that we all grew up with. Well, not all grew up with, but for the people that grew up in that generation, like they do hold GI Joe and
Okay.
Teenage Mutant
Transformers.
Ninja Turtles, Transformers, and stuff like that. So yeah,
Yeah. So
they
that's
have a lot of
definitely.
the kid ones too. I think like My Little Pony and I forget what the other one is, but they have a lot of like cartoons that are out right now, like published through IDW.
Are they the ones who did Investigators, or is that Boom?
That's Boom.
Okay. That
Yeah.
was awesome.
I think another really cool one that not too many people are familiar with are the Humanoids publishing company as well. If you're looking for like foreign type of comic books that are translated into our language, that's another good way to get into, I guess, very um, I don't want to say shoot, what's that word? like hipster. It's yeah, if you're just looking for another experience that's outside of America, Humanoids definitely has a decent amount of different stories when it comes to foreign comics.
Yeah, we had a whole conversation on that.
Yeah,
I
we have a
wonder,
whole
was that
what's
on
that?
our podcast or is that something we talked about after?
No, it
I
was
don't
on our
remember.
podcast. It's
Okay,
it was on our podcast video of publishers and what we love
that's
about
right.
them.
That's right.
If you guys are interested in that video, that's on our channel as well. I think it was either issue 6 or 7, maybe. So yeah, check that out in our channel.
That's definitely a good one.
Yeah,
We can talk about publishers all day, so we'll just leave it at that.
yeah,
So you can check it out because we'll end up this will just be that issue part 2.
yeah, yeah. So
Issue
that's pretty
6,
much. I think
number
that's pretty
6.
much the gist of it for when it comes to what to collect, right?
Yep. Yeah. The next
Oh
thing
wait,
is
there's one more. I'm sorry. Another format that I forgot to mention is because depending on what your goal is for comic book collecting, if you're collecting to invest, graded comic
oh
books are another route that you could do. So if you decide getting into investing comic books and making money off it, uh, getting graded comics is definitely a good route. And but you also have to do your research and whatnot to figure out, like, what makes a comic book issue skyrocket, or what makes it very rare and stuff. And just to mention a few things about comic book investing, you usually want to invest in what's hot, which are like it's usually going to be comic book superheroes, because there's a plethora of Marvel movies and TV shows out. So anything that's getting produced as a movie or TV show, and that character, that comic book is either coming out or has been out, those will usually drive sales for some reason, just from supply and demand, basically. So like it's kind of like if you see um, an example for it is when Michael Jordan like came up with his own shoe line, like the Air Jordans and stuff, because Michael Jordan was so incredibly awesome back then, and really popular back then. Everyone wanted to jump on that craze, and the demand was high, so the supply was low. So like getting those shoes was very difficult to get. And same thing when it comes to comic books. Like when Spider-Man movies came out, everyone wanted to jump on like getting the very first issue of Spider-Man, and that drove sales, and it still to this day drives sales when anything Spider-Man comes out, or even Batman and stuff.
yeah,
um
definitely.
yeah,
Anytime like
so
something new comes out or
uh-huh,
anything gets optioned for a
movie or
TV
TV series.
series, even
Yeah,
if it doesn't get optioned, if they like, let's just say like a couple years from now, after like Tom Holland's third Spider-Man,
yeah,
uh, if say like another actor comes along and they're going to reboot the series again,
yeah,
or when, uh, how do I even say this? Like, let's use a different example. When the X-Men finally get to officially join the MCU,
oh yeah,
a lot of those X-Men comics are going to skyrocket, especially
yeah, for sure.
anything centered around the event that they're going to follow. You know,
Yeah.
if they're taking from like specific storylines,
Hmm.
those issues are the ones you're going to want to look for. But try to anticipate it and jump on those, because otherwise you're going to be paying a high price and selling for slightly higher
Yeah.
versus paying relatively low and selling for really high. I don't do this myself, but just as a fair warning, investing is investing. So know that just like anything else, you do run a high risk of taking a loss. So we're
Yeah.
not condoning it like, oh, you're going to make money.
Yeah.
It's just like anything else, it's high risk, high reward.
Yeah, basically. And another thing I wanted to mention when it comes to collecting or investing into comic books is shoot, what was I thinking about? So once you get those investments and stuff, you have to decide whether to, how long are you going to hold onto this, or if you're going to sell it while it's hot. Like usually, when it comes to older comic books, you usually want to hold on to it for a long period of time, just because the supply for it is very low and minimal, and usually they tend to not do so many reprints of that stuff. But when it comes to the newer comic books, you usually want to flip it when it's hot, unless you really believe that it's gonna skyrocket in the future on the long term. So
Yeah, it's happened a couple times, like the first Walking Dead issue.
yeah,
You
yeah,
know, people probably may have like saw that thing hit like $100, $200 and flipped it,
yeah,
you know,
yeah.
thinking they made out, and then that person
Mm,
bought, you know, a now like $10,000 comic for
yeah.
$200, and
Oh, I
that's
think
changed.
I think I remember what I was gonna say is also depending on the creative team behind some of these comics will determine whether a comic book is gonna be hot or skyrocket. Because when it comes to Donny Cates, Jeff Johns, James Tynion, just to name a few creators, any stuff that they put out, like their comics just skyrocket, not by a lot, but like for modern comics, it's definitely unheard of when it comes to single issues coming out, like every time. Like once the issues sell out, like people sell it for at least double the cover price already.
Like immediately, and then
Yeah,
within like a week or so it's already like tripling, and then sometimes
yeah,
within a week like that thing's already like 50, $60, you know.
yeah, yeah,
And that's
yeah,
like sometimes just the main cover. We're not even talking like some rare variant, you know,
yeah,
like the
exactly.
main cover is like, you know, worth
Yeah.
a portion of my collection sometimes.
Yeah, and I think another driving issue is also the comic book community, since we're all driven by social media. Like if the word gets out on certain comics or collected editions and whatnot, they have the power to drive the market. So because if a comic book series isn't doing really well and the word doesn't get out, then obviously it's just going to sit at the store. It's not going to
Yeah, of
be
course.
high demand or anything. So
Like look
yeah,
at
that's
Berserker,
yeah.
you know, like issue 2 isn't even out. It's already, you know,
got it,
guaranteed a
it.
next. Go
Oh,
ahead.
go ahead.
I was gonna say it's already guaranteed a Netflix show, you know,
Yeah,
off of one issue, but it's
yeah.
because social media has propped up Keanu Reeves as
Oh,
like
yeah,
this god. And don't get me wrong,
yeah,
I love Keanu Reeves just as much as
yeah.
everybody else. I
Same.
hate the Matrix though. But like I love him just as much as anybody else. Like he's awesome, you know, just great all around dude. And his comic is amazing, you know, and
Yeah, the fact that he wrote a comic, that was really cool.
yeah, and he's pretty much the main character of the comic,
Yeah,
which makes it even better.
yeah,
But that just goes to show that like like a single issue can skyrocket, you know, almost immediately. The first issue is already like the first print's like $20, and that's a
yeah.
lot for a modern comic.
Yeah, and I think the first set of orders were already sold out. Another example of that is the Last Ronin when that first came out. Like
Yep.
it was low print, and on top of that, like it was sold out like day one.
Yeah. I remember I was able to grab a second copy because I went to another shop and they just happened to have one extra.
Oh wow! I think I was
And
able to get one also, but that's because I went to the shop. I wasn't sure if my comic book shop was able to hold me one, so I got one off the shelf. And the guy next to me was like, "Oh man, like I wish I would have got here earlier." And I'm like, "Oh, don't worry, man. I told him I got him as long as the shop was able to hold one for in the back for me on my pull." So sure enough, I went to go check out my pull list, and she definitely had one for me. So I decided to and I the she would have let me buy that extra copy also, but I felt bad. So like I'm like, no, like I'm not gonna be that guy that's gonna try to scalp like for this issue. So I decided to give it to him or let
that's
him buy
awesome.
it, so he could get that same experience.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah,
See, if had somebody when I walked into my shop and somebody was like, "Oh man, you got the last one," I would have been like, "Nah, dude, take it. Like, I already got
yeah,
one.
yeah,
Like, This
Yeah.
I was just buying an extra
Just
just
in
in
case someone
case,
else
like,
didn't get one or something.
yeah,
Yeah.
like if you didn't get it or something, or or if Shelby wanted it, even though she doesn't care for the turtles, but let's just say like she decided she wanted to get into it, like,
Yeah.
it was just in case somebody I knew. And that's what I did with the Legends of the Dark Knight originally. My plan
Nice.
wasn't to trade it. I bought three of them. I bought one for me, I bought one for a close friend of mine, and I
Yeah.
bought one extra just in case I needed it
Nice.
for anything. Like,
I
my
needed it.
copy gets damaged. Yeah, if you
Yeah.
needed it, like just
Yeah.
for some random reason, and it worked out.
Yeah.
The good thing, otherwise you would have been paying like 20 to 30 bucks for that thing when you
Yeah.
finally
Basically.
decided to look for it.
Yep.
Yeah, so we're totally getting off subject here. Which is fine. Totally
Yeah.
fine.
Yeah.
That's part of a podcast. That's part of the fun.
Yeah.
So yeah, just going with in the investing side of it. That's what we're still talking about, right?
Yeah. Yeah. That was the last part
Yeah.
of like what, if you're deciding to like what to collect in comic books.
Yeah, looking for number ones of upcoming series is huge. And I don't mean like, not to knock the series, but like I'm not sitting here kicking myself that I didn't get like Lumberjanes number one, from Boom Studios.
Yeah.
I don't even know if that thing's worth money. That thing could be worth like 4 grand for all I know. I doubt it, but
It isn't.
no, I know. I'm just saying, like,
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
not, but just look around. Like, there's websites, there's comic book groups. People do a lot of like speculation. Reddit is another one.
Yeah,
A lot of speculation.
I think the best thing to look out for is just to go to the previews website, because if you go to that site, or if you get the hard copy of those previews magazine, it'll show you what comic books are coming out within
Mhm.
2 months. So if you have that ahead of time and you pre-order through your shop, then you have a better chance of getting certain collected books or single issue comic books before they even come out, and not having to worry about like missing out on it.
Yeah, like I missed out on the God of War Fallen Gods number one
Hmm.
because I didn't even know what it was. I was just like, God of War comic, like,
Yeah,
you know,
no one's gonna buy that. No one's It's not gonna sell out.
exactly. Like I didn't think much of it.
Yeah.
And so came out, went into my shop, and I was like, what's going on with this God of War comic? And
Yeah.
Mike and I were like talking about it. He's like, I don't know. He's like, comic book, like around video games, almost never sell. And this thing sold immediately. And he's a
Huh.
gamer too. And I was just like,
Yeah.
what's like the hype about it? Just like, I have
Uh-huh.
no idea. So, like every other Wednesday, I head to the other shop that I go to. And I go to, yes, for anyone listening, I go to at least 2 comic book shops every single Wednesday without fail. So I go to the other shop and talking to the guy there, and he's like, man, like that God of War sold out like really fast. And I was like, yeah, what was
Yeah.
the deal with that? And I may have actually mentioned this. I don't remember. I feel like now that I'm telling the story, I told this on an earlier podcast, but
Yeah.
he said it ties in the story between the original God of War games, like God of War 2, God of War 3, into the PS4 God of War from 2018, where
Oh,
it
okay.
goes from Greek mythology to Norse mythology. It's
Oh,
the
that's pretty cool.
tie-in story. So grabbing that number one
Yeah.
was important.
Yeah.
And
Right.
I saw it
Oh
like
man.
coming up, like I knew it was
Yeah.
coming, but I was just like, it's just a God of War comic. Like I didn't think to look at like what it said in the previews.
Yeah.
That I could have like probably read it and been like, oh, it's the filler story. That sounds
Right. Right.
awesome.
Yeah.
And I should put this on my pull. I didn't, and I missed
Yeah.
out.
I think there was a handful of comics when I started collecting single issues again, and I'm kicking myself because there was a handful of Thor comics that were out. I think it was only up to issue 5, and either 4 or 5, and they were already bringing out like some second and third and fourth printings of some of the issues, but I was there during the time when it still had the first printings, and I'm like looking at it, I'm like, man, these covers look cool, but I don't it was around the time when I didn't know what to collect when it comes to floppies, so I passed up on it. And now like those issues are going for over $40-$50 each.
I
because
remember.
it's a first appearance of Black Winter, and it was the first time I think Thor became. Well, actually, I don't want to spoil that. I'll let you guys find out if you guys are reading Donny Cates's Thor.
I remember
Yeah.
us having this conversation that I was like, "Hey, are you grabbing the Thor issues?" And your response was, "No, I'm just gonna wait for collected editions." And I was
Yeah, because
like,
that's exactly what I was collecting at the time. So I was very focused in my collecting about
"Yep,
collecting editions. I don't want to jump into floppies because I
yep,
know the hole that I'll be in.
yep." And then I remember I was like, "Bad idea. Like, if there's anything that you should be collecting,
Yeah,
single issues for, like Thor is it." And you're
yeah,
like, "No, I'm good. I'll just get floppies." And or
yeah,
I'm sorry, collected editions when they come
yeah,
out. And then
yeah.
maybe 2 weeks later, I get a text from you and you're like, "Hey, do you have extra copies of like issues like whatever, whatever, whatever?" And I was like, "I
Yeah.
don't know, let me check. I might." And I was like, "Gotcha."
Yeah, pretty much.
I,
And
I
that's
knew
the
it was
whole
gonna
reason.
happen.
That's the whole reason why you want to have a very focused goal when it comes to collecting comic books, because I was able to deter Joe, at least for a little bit, to say no to the format that he was trying to pitch at me. But obviously that didn't work. So,
Nope. And I wasn't against the omnibus, but
and
it
I wasn't against the floppies either. I just
yeah,
knew I was gonna be in a bigger hole if I jumped into that format.
yeah. I mentioned this on another episode too, I think, but I'm just gonna reiterate this point. I remember the
Mm-hmm,
first time I saw like an omnibus, I was just like,
mm-hmm,
I don't get it. Like, why do I want to pay $100 something for like a bunch of issues, like and a
yeah.
giant book? Like,
Mm-hmm,
I can just go buy like a couple trades and single issues. But then once I went to your house and like I actually looked at an omnibus, like opened and got
yeah,
to like flip through it, I was like, I get it. Like this thing is
yeah,
awesome.
yeah.
So
It's such an awesome format, just because like it has so much extra content besides just the comic book issues. It has like a I think a forward from like the creators, like a bulletin thing. They got like concept arts, things that you wouldn't find in a normal comic book is
yeah.
available in those.
Oh, I forgot to tell you this. And this is the last thing we can mention before jumping on to the next subject.
Yeah,
Because I just remembered this. So the day Flashpoint came out,
yeah,
I bought it. Or I'm sorry, it was the next day. Because
yeah.
I saw Flashpoint, I decided not to buy it,
Mhm.
and all I can think about that night was that I'm gonna regret it. So I had to go take a drug test for work, for the new job.
Yeah,
I didn't get caught doing drugs and have to take a drug test. New job.
yeah.
So I had to go take a drug test. And
Yeah,
before we left, I looked at Shelby and I was like, I really, really should buy that Flashpoint.
yeah.
Like I'm gonna regret it. And I
And
was like,
they only had one copy, right?
yeah. And I was
Yeah,
like, do you want to go to Whittier after? Because we had to drive to Downey
yeah,
so I could take a drug test, and then so it's like a 30-minute drive.
yeah,
And she's like, yeah, that's fine. So I'm like, okay, let's just go.
yeah.
So we drive over there. I
I'm
buy
assuming
it.
the whole car ride you were just hoping that it's still there, right?
No, I called and had them hold it for
Oh,
me.
okay, smart.
Yeah, yes. I called and Renee was like, "You want me to hold it for you?" And I was like, "Yes." And he like started laughing, and I was like, "Dude, I really regretted not buying it yesterday."
Yeah,
So he joked with me about it, and like I bought it.
yeah,
So she's like,
nice.
so Shelby's like, "Hey, do you want to go to Patty's
Mhm.
Cakes, which is a place that has these like really good vegan cupcakes in Fullerton?"
Oh, sweet.
So I was like, "Yeah, screw it. Like, it's just another 30 minutes, the way we're
Yeah,
going. Like, it's not too far."
yeah,
So I was like, we'll stop at Comic Book Hideout since we're gonna
yeah.
be right there. Go see Funky, go
Mhm.
say what's up to him. And so we go. Turns out Funky wasn't there that day, so that was kind of a bummer. But
Ah,
so I'm looking and like, just browsing, and I'm
mhm.
talking to the guy working, and the glass case, well,
Yeah,
there's two big glass cases, and they usually have like some rare like golden age, sometimes like silver age stuff in there. But
yeah,
then sometimes they have like custom stuff that are like things that like people creative people they work with who like sell them stuff or put stuff on consignment and they sell.
yeah.
They had a bunch of like graded issues this time, like a bunch of
Oh, sweet.
like a bunch of like CGC graded stuff. And so I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, this is new. So like I'm looking, and there's like an issue that's like $300 in there, and I'm like, I passed up on that issue. It was an Amazing Spider-Man issue,
Mhm.
and I
Which
was
one?
like, it was like this like ridiculous cartoon drawing of Mary Jane. There was like a blue background, and I think she was wearing white, and like it it was like just an over the top kind of look.
Yeah,
And I
yeah.
remember I passed on it, and I was like, man, that thing CGC is like $300. Like I should have bought it.
Damn, that's
And
insane.
so I'm looking, and I just kind of turned my head like that to the side slightly.
Hmm.
And in the glass case, so keep in mind everything's set, so you can just look at the glass case. This
Yeah,
thing is set up, touching, like standing, facing it like as if it's on a bookshelf. So you don't even notice that it's there. And
yeah,
I just see this thick black spine, and it says Amazing Spider-Man. And I
yeah,
look sideways to get a view of the cover.
yeah.
It's the Amazing Fantasy one, still sealed.
15?
The
The original
Omni.
one?
No, the Omni.
Oh, the Omni.
The Omni you have.
Oh, nice.
And I was like, oh my God, like it's here.
Yeah, yeah,
And I was like, how much is that?
yeah.
And he's like, let me go find out. Because he wasn't a normal, one of the normal employees.
Right.
So he goes to the back and asks the owner. He comes back and he's like, oh, it's 300. And I was like, oh my God, like I don't regret buying Flashpoint, but I regret
Yeah.
buying Flashpoint right at this moment. Because I
Because
could
you
have
would have,
just used that money and
yeah,
bought,
to get, yeah, yeah.
yeah.
Oh man.
Granted, I probably could have pulled the trigger and done it, but that would have
Yeah.
been $450 on just Omnis.
Dang.
Yeah.
Honestly, from my experience, man, like, um, just wait for a reprint. That's probably gonna get a
Yeah.
reprint.
I have a
Um,
feeling,
mhm.
but it still sucked to just be able to look at and know I had to
Yeah,
walk away from it.
yeah.
And
It,
I would never want to borrow money from Shelby like for an Omni like that. But
yeah.
when we left, she goes, I would have loaned you the money for it. And I was just like, oh, that just hurts even more. And
Yeah,
like
the
I
fact,
jokingly acted like I was gonna like turn around. And
yeah.
I was like, I'm going back. But no, I was like, that's way too much money. Like that's
Yeah,
way too
no,
much money to lose.
I've seen it for that price before, like 300, even 400 at one point, and
Oof.
I still decided not to jump the gun. Like the
Yeah.
most I would pay for one, at least for that specific omnibus, was 200, and
Yeah.
even that I was still like, no, I'm gonna wait for a reprint. Like especially for when it comes to like popular Marvel characters or DC characters. I know certain omnibus will definitely get reprints, but I also am aware of like certain runs that will either not get a reprint or it'll take a really long time for a reprint. Like these Infinity Gauntlet omnibus that I have, um, the Infinity Gauntlet itself, it'll definitely get a reprint. That's why I
Yeah.
waited, and it paid off. Like I paid less than cover price and was able to get it brand new. Same thing with
Nice.
Infinity War and the Infinity Crusade. This is the first time it's ever got a omnibus printing, so I jumped on that as well because I knew it was coming out. So you just have
Nice.
to be very aware of like when things are going to be released, and if things are going to be coming out with reprints at all like soon. Like I think I mentioned to you this year, for the first time in a few years actually, they're going to have Ultimate Spider-Man volume
Yeah.
1 omnibus. So I figured that's something you definitely want to jump on,
Yeah.
because I know you love Spider-Man just as much as I do. So
Yeah.
and the thing that I know this is kind of off topic, but like with the whole Ultimate Spider-Man run, I thought the entire run was collected into two omnibus collections, and I thought about it real hard, and I'm like, wait a second, there's 12 volumes. How do they fit all that? And they don't have the entire run for an omnibus format. So like the first volume only collects the first 3 volumes of the
Oh,
Ultimate collection.
so there's gonna be another one then?
Yeah, they had a print of volume 2 already, which is out of print, and they're only reprinting volume 1 so far. So depending on
Okay.
how well that does, they'll probably solicitate a reprinting for volume 2. But besides that, like they don't have the rest of it in print in
Yeah.
omnibus format.
That's what I meant. So
So
there'll probably be like a third one at some point, maybe a fourth, depending on.
yeah, if they do, it's gonna be a long time before
Yeah.
you even get it. So what some people do in order to get an entire run of something, they'll collect different formats just to piece together the story
Yeah.
so you could read it. So I decided to jump the gun on this set just because I saw someone selling the whole set for a decent price, and I actually got it discounted less than what he was posting. So I
Nice.
was very thankful for that, and to the fact that I think volumes 5 to 12 are all still sealed. So that was the selling factor for me.
Now you got to find 1 through 4 sealed.
1 through 4.
One, wait, did you say 5 through 12 or 7 through 12
Oh,
sealed?
yeah, 5 through 12 sealed,
Yeah.
but 1 through 4 is open, but they're still in great condition. So
No, but you got to find them sealed because you got to have them all sealed.
for
That's the dream.
for the investing side of me, for sure, that's definitely a video game collecting
Yeah.
aspect when it comes to sealed stuff. Books, I don't care about. Like I want to open
Yeah.
up and read them.
That's the dream, having them
Yeah,
sealed.
still sealed. Yeah.
Question. Oh, that's turtles, man. I was trying to figure out something on your
On my
shelf,
bookshelf.
but
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
yeah.
Yeah.
Unrelated. I could because I could see it. It just
Mhm.
it caught my eye and I couldn't tell what it was.
Uh,
Okay, so I think we've covered that and went off topic quite a bit, which is fine. Like I said, part
yeah.
of the fun of a podcast. Um, this might actually be the last section now that I think about it, because the next one was how to budget collecting. I feel like we've already kind of talked about that, unless you want to.
I think one other category that we should kind of talk about just a little bit is when to collect comic books. Um, and that's
Well, I'm sorry.
honestly, oh,
Sorry to
sorry.
cut you off. I
Yeah.
had two more. I was gonna go into the last one,
Mhm.
but I was gonna say, do you want to skip the budget part because we've already kind of talked about. I kind of feel like we covered that with like the goals, um, instead of
Oh,
just
right,
like not
right.
only setting a goal, but we also kind of
Yeah.
talked about like budgeting and not going nuts with things. So do you want to just should we just
Yeah,
axe that and kind of
I'll chime in a little more for when it comes to budgeting. So for when you decide to start collecting comic books and you go into the budgeting aspect of it, you want to know how much you could afford either per week or per month, because you don't want to make the mistake of jumping the gun and spending all this tons of money on comic books that you either want to collect, invest, or do or read or whatever, and then find out at the end of the month you got bills that you need to pay, or
yeah,
an emergency comes
definitely don't
up.
want to do that.
And because I've been there a little bit where not with comic books but like with video game collecting, where I spent all this money on certain video games and stuff for the month or past couple months, and then like all of a sudden I actually needed that money for other things, and I was forced to sell off the stuff that I bought. So it hurts even more because I got it but now I have to get rid of it because
Yeah,
phone bill or whatever. Some stupid thing. So yeah, try to stay on a budget so you can afford things, and not hurt your wallet so much to when it comes to necessities of living, like food and putting a roof over your head.
yeah.
But
One thing I'm gonna add to that,
yeah.
since I didn't even think about this, but this is part of it. This actually helps me and stops me from spending like crazy sometimes.
Yeah.
Put everything you think sounds interesting and that you're pretty sure you're going to buy on your pull list.
Yeah.
And I know that might sound counterproductive because you're just like, oh, it's on my pull list. It means I'm going to buy it.
Yeah.
What it stops you from doing though is buying on Wednesday everything on your pull list, walking over to the new releases and grabbing, the 6 issues you didn't have on your pull list, which would, let's just say you're going to add those 6 issues anyway, right?
Yeah.
So you're going to add those. Then you're going to look at last week's releases, and then you're going to realize, oh, I missed this, and this. And you're
Yeah.
going to add 6 additional issues, whereas it could have been 6 this week, 6 last week. Instead, you're now buying 12 issues today.
Yeah.
and then say the next week, like, okay, cool. So you don't have those like six missing issues from last week. You're going to
Yeah.
start looking like, oh, well, this seemed interesting. Oh, this seemed interesting. I didn't think to grab this. And you're going to start just grabbing all this extra stuff. But if you
Yeah.
put it on your pull list, it gets spaced out week by week.
Yeah, that's true.
Where like, because then, like I have a website that I use. I'm not going to mention them, not any issue with them, or I'm not trying to like gatekeep this. I just honestly don't even remember what the website's called. I just type something specific into Google. I scroll down a little. I find the site that's like highlighted that I've looked at. I click on it and it shows me everything.
Yeah.
It gives me a whole list of everything coming out that week, and I from all publishers. And I start at the top and I scroll to the bottom and I count how many issues I'm looking at buying that week that are on my pool, and then I
Yeah.
consider everything that isn't on my pool. And then I kind of calculate in my head. I have a budget in my head of how much I intend to spend.
Yeah.
If I do think I'm going to exceed that, I try not to, or I try to like cut like a variant or two out of something if it's not like a rare variant, something that I wasn't too interested in terms of like a specific cover. Everything on my pool I intend to buy at least one of, but I try to like cut stuff out or put it like, hey, can I just grab this next week? So I'm
Hmm.
not like just dropping like $100, but
Yeah.
every week, like, or I'm usually 2 weeks ahead because it posts 2 weeks ahead. So I
Yeah.
usually have an idea of how much I'm spending week one and then week two, and then, week three and then week four for the month. And it makes things a lot easier for me because it stops me from having to go to that new release section and grab a whole like fat stack of things that I forgot about the
Yeah.
last, 2 weeks.
Yeah, this is true.
Yes.
Um, just to elaborate on the whole budgeting aspect, for me, I do it a little bit differently. I know there are a bunch of different collected editions that I want to get, but I don't want to pay the ridiculous prices for some of these books. But when there comes a time when I do, it's within the budget that I'm willing to spend for the like for example this Ultimate Spider-Man set. I usually tend to have about $1,000 to $2,000 set aside in case something that I've been wanting comes up for the right price. And this was one of them. I was able to this whole set became available online, and I knew it's been a set that I've been wanting for the longest time, and I haven't, found one that has the best condition or the best price in combination in order for me to jump the gun and do it. And I just found it randomly. I'm like, oh yeah, like I remember I was trying to get this set. I wonder if it's available online. And sure enough, I look and it was available. And just because I had the 1 or 2 thousand saved, just in case for this specific reason, I was able to jump the gun and do it. And that's another tip of like having money available for things that you really need or want in your collection, and having the money ready already without having to budget every month to see if you could afford it or not.
That's a good idea. And I know 1 to 2,000 sounds like a lot for some people.
Yeah.
Um, don't always necessarily think big. Think I don't know the right word to use for this, but think like
Hmm.
the equivalent of like people they call them grails, like an
Yeah.
item you want, like something specific that you've been after, like a Thor,
Hmm.
like the Beta Ray Bill, cover where he's like smashing the Thor logo,
Yeah, or
things
like
like
Venom
that.
#3.
Yeah, like think something like that, and just put like a little money aside. Maybe it might be like 200-300 bucks. And I know for some people that
Yeah.
still sounds like a lot, but it could be $5 here, $5 there. Put the stuff aside and just sit on it. Like I know not everybody wants to save money or can save money,
Yeah.
but it if it's something you really want, like I definitely recommend, like you said, put some money aside
Hmm.
and kind of have a target, like have something in mind or a couple things in mind, and just be patient. Like he said, he grabbed that, set. I'm jealous. Like I don't even have that.
Yeah, I waited about because I decided to want to collect the Ultimate Spider-Man set for a little bit over a year now. And like Joe said, like I my patience paid off. I was able to get issue or volumes 5 through 12 sealed still. and most of the listings were either open or slightly damaged for a high price, which I didn't want to pay for that condition. So I lucked out on this set.
Yeah, some guy lucked out on an entire Sandman set for me, remember?
Oh yeah,
I've mentioned that a
yeah,
couple times.
yeah,
Hopefully that guy was being patient with his money when he got
probably,
that fat
yeah.
deal on those for me. But okay, so that's all I have to add to the budgeting,
Budgeting, yeah.
which was originally gonna, I think, be the end, but I think it felt more in place here. What was the one you wanted to bring up?
Oh, when to collect
There
comic
you go.
books. And the thing that I was gonna mention is there's honestly there's no wrong or right time to start collecting comic books. I definitely recommend starting now. Obviously, if you have the budget for it, you could start it. Once you have these tips kind of set for yourself, so you know what you're gonna do and not going blindly, I would definitely go ahead and start now. Um, and also, the other thing when it comes to time of collecting comic books is knowing when certain issues or comic book characters are coming out with stories. So you want to ask your comic book store like when or how far back you want to read into a specific character depending on the creators and whatnot, and if they're going to be coming out with a new storyline. Like for example, Spider-Man, they're coming out with a new I guess event called the Sinister Six and the Savage Six or something. There's going to be the newest Spider-Man event coming out in July, and since I knew about it, I know when and how much money I need to set aside just to get all that stuff.
Yeah.
So, and even collected editions too, like knowing when you could pre-order things, just so it's not necessarily like a fear of missing out, but it kind of is at the same time, because certain collected editions can go out of print depending on how popular they are or how low print they are when they come out. So
And
you definitely don't want to miss on it. So yeah,
to clarify, these things can go out of print like the day they release.
yeah,
Like War of the
especially
Realms,
indie books and omnibus.
like War of the
Oh,
Realms
like War of the
Omni.
Realms. Oh man,
Both of us for months
yeah,
were like, we're grabbing War of the Realms when it comes out. Like,
yeah,
we're getting this the day it comes out, and then it came
yeah.
out, and neither of us got it because
Yeah, it
we're
was
idiots
kind
and
of
we just
unfortunate because I didn't know what the difference was between direct market and book market, because I saw War of the Realms being released on Amazon, and I could have pre-ordered it, but I wanted to purchase it from my local comic book shop because I wanted to support them. And I asked them if they could pre-order it for me. They're like, "Oh yeah, it's looks like it's in back stock or something." And I'm like, "Okay, like for me, like I don't know what that means. Does that mean like I could order it and you'll for sure get it?" But I kind of like just took their word for it, and I'm like, "All right, like yeah, like put me on order and I'll pick it up when you get it." And the pre-order date passes on Amazon, so now I saw it already sold out on Amazon, and I'm still waiting on my local comic book shop. And I'm like, "Hey, did you get War of the Realms yet?" They're like, "No, it's still in back stock." And I'm like, "Okay, do you know when it's gonna come in?" And they're like, "Oh, we're not sure." I'm like, "Okay, like I don't know what that means. Like, so are you gonna be able to order it for sure or not?" And that's on my end. Like I didn't educate myself on how that all works, so I ended up missing out on it because I didn't know the differences between the direct market and the book market. So and
what's the
Amazon,
difference to clarify
uh, the
for anyone who
direct
doesn't
market
know?
is basically the like Marvel and DC publishers selling it on this specific site or format, I guess, where you could buy it from this this avenue of a market or a seller, where you don't have to go through like a middleman, like the book market, which is like the
Yeah.
local comic book shops and like Target, Walmart, and stuff like that.
Now, are these editions different in any way?
Yeah,
Like
they
if you
have
hold them
a
up.
the DM variants, they do have variants for the hardcovers and omnibus and stuff.
Oh,
So
right. We talked about this.
yeah, but they also do have the same standard variants that like the book market gets, like all the comic book shops get
But
for
let's just
regular.
let's just say main cover to main cover. Do they have like a different ISBN, or are they like? Can you not tell them apart at all?
I believe they do have a different ISBN, and same thing when they do reprints, they have different numbers as well.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Just because I'm also very uneducated with this, so this is good information for me to know.
Yeah.
So,
And usually the book market, I think, gets it before, or they usually put it out before Amazon puts it out. Amazon puts it out like a little bit later, and
yeah.
that's why they're able to have pre-orders a little bit later.
Yeah.
So
Where do you go to
so
find? Oh, sorry. Go
oh,
ahead. I'm sorry. No, go
no,
ahead.
go ahead.
Oh.
Uh,
Okay, you go. You go.
All right, cool. Yeah, usually what I usually try to do is I ask my local comic book shop, and I just did this recently with a couple of books that I got with Criminal from Image Comics and Flashpoint Omnibus. I asked her like, oh, like can I still pre-order Flashpoint Omnibus and Criminal Deluxe Edition? Is it not in back order specifically? And she's like, yeah, like we could order that for you. It'll come. It's coming out this date. I'm like, oh, okay, perfect. Like I could, I'm able to support you and support the shop and whatnot. Because if she said it was in back order already, or it like came out already in comic book shops, but they didn't order any, then I would revert to Amazon or In Stock Trades or any other site that might have it. Because for those of you that don't know, a lot of comic book shops generally don't really carry a handful of collected editions, because they honestly just sit at the shop most of the time, and not a lot of people buy it compared to the single issues and floppies. So, but based on that note, you have a better chance of finding an omnibus like in the shops, because not since not a lot of people are buying it. Like you could find like rare omnibus for cover price compared to finding it for like $300 online, but like you ended up finding that omnibus for 300 right at the shop
Yeah.
instead of cover price.
Yeah,
So
but
another
go
thing
ahead.
when it comes to the comic book shops, they have the power to adjust like pricing on their books as well. Because if it's on up online, they could, if they want to, they could sell it for higher than cover price if they want
Yeah.
to. But the shop that I go to, most of the time they sell it for a cover price. So
Yeah, same here.
unless they update it, yeah.
So I was gonna kind of just touch on what you said about being like lucky enough to be like the one who gets it.
Mhm.
Not that Flashpoint's like a super rare one, but I didn't buy it that day, and I was able to get it the very next day. Had I
Yeah,
waited one more day, somebody else probably would have bought that.
yeah,
Because
and oh, go ahead.
in their case, how they have like a couple like collected editions, kind of like sitting up, like propped up in hardcover.
Oh yeah.
They only ever put one Omni in there. That's it.
Oh wow.
It's always like those $50 collected editions, that they
Yeah,
have, like the hardcovers, like the deluxe editions and stuff.
yeah,
And in the middle is only ever one Omni, and once that sells, it gets replaced with like a $50 collected edition until the next Omni comes out.
yeah,
So had I waited one more day, like that thing probably would have been gone because they sell
yeah,
at that store. So like I got
yeah.
really lucky.
Nice.
You know?
Yeah, same here. I think when I when Absolute Carnage came out, for some reason, like not a lot of people were jumping on it right away until I think until either King and Black came out already,
It was before King
or
and Black
it was before that it came out, right? Oh yeah,
because it was
yeah,
it was
it was
before I went back
before.
to work.
Yeah, so I think when King and Black was starting to pick up, like before it came out, I think a lot more people were doing more research on it and like what they should be reading before they get into King and Black. Absolute Carnage was one of them, and I decided to jump on that omnibus. I think Comic Book Hideout had it for I think maybe that day, or it's been a week already that it had come out,
Yeah.
and I decided to jump on it, and they were thankful that I picked it up because I think what's his name again at Comic Book
Funky.
Hideout, Funky said that he's like, oh, I knew it was gonna sell because like it's Carnage, like who doesn't want Carnage? I'm like, I
Yeah.
don't know, I'm surprised it's still here, so like it's meant for me.
Yeah. Trip out on this. I went to Undercity and I saw it sitting there 2 Wednesdays in a row.
Oh wow, like
I don't
recently?
know. No, this is right before you got yours.
Oh
I was there
okay,
for 2 Wednesdays in a row, and I
yeah,
was like, why is nobody buying that? But this is before I was still sold on the Omni,
yeah,
like the that format. And I was
yeah.
just like, like that's really cool though. But I was like, I want to spend $100. I should have spent that $100. Because I had the money for it when I saw it. I should have just bought
Yeah,
it.
yeah, yeah. Because honestly, this format is a little bit better in terms of the artwork, because the artwork's a little bit more oversized than your standard comic book, and I love oversized artwork.
Oh yeah, oversized artwork's always cool to see.
Yeah.
Which is why I bought that portfolio for Shelby, the Peach Momoko one.
Oh,
I
nice.
bought her the portfolio, and their oversized art, and it looks amazing. Like
That's
they're so
awesome.
nice. Yeah, we're probably gonna get a couple frames for some and hang them
Oh,
up
there
because
are
they look
they.
so
Are
nice.
they prints that it came with?
Yeah, yeah. It comes with, I think it's
Oh, okay.
12.
I thought it was a book or something.
No, so I guess a lot of the portfolios are done in like a book format, and you
Yeah.
have to actually tear the piece out like it's on a perforated sheet.
Oh, I see.
These actually have a little pocket that they slide into, and you can pull them out, and you don't have to rip anything.
Oh, that's
And
awesome.
it's on like a, not like cardstock, but it's like it's a thicker paper,
Yeah.
but not quite cardstock. Because well, every time I think cardstock, I think like grain. I'm sorry, like glossy. And
Yeah.
this looks more like I guess more like not grainy, but you know what I'm talking about, right? Like that kind of paper where you
Yeah.
tend to find art prints on.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like that, like a business card.
Yeah.
It's almost like on a paper like that.
Mhm.
Whether that be cardstock or not, I'm not sure, but
Yeah.
it's on like that kind of format. And they're really nice. Like it came out really well, or that was
That's
done
pretty
really
cool.
well. Yeah. So that aside,
Yeah.
um, so our last subject, I believe, was going to be overall care for these formats, or
Yeah.
for like how to care for your collection.
Yeah.
Um, let's see, we are looking at close to 2 hours now, so we can keep this short
Yeah.
ish. I don't know. You can go ahead and start on this, and maybe some
Sure.
advice for how to care for your collected editions, since
Yeah.
you have way more than I do.
Yeah, sure. I guess I'll start off with the or do you want me to start off with the collected editions, or floppies, or both?
I can talk about the floppies if you'd like to talk about the collected editions.
Yeah, sure. All right. So for collected editions, they're a lot more durable than you would expect compared to a floppy, because we got hardcovers available and trade paperbacks as well. The trade paperbacks are going to be your soft covers, so they're a lot easier to bend on the bookends and stuff. But the hardcovers are a lot more durable, but can definitely get dinged up if they fall, compared to a trade paperback. If it falls, then it just it's it's like a soft landing. And then if you do have collected editions, I definitely recommend buying a bookshelf to store them, because if you just have them lying around anywhere, like it has a higher chance of it falling or getting damaged. So, and when you do buy collected editions and you put it in your bookshelves, I recommend that you have it standing up like this. For those of you listening on or watching on YouTube, I definitely recommend you setting it right side up and not sideways, because it puts more pressure on the book if you have it sideways, laying down and stacked books stacked on top of each other. So if you have it done this way, it relieves a lot of that pressure from being stacked on and whatnot. I do have a couple of them stacked on just because I'm out of space. So having like one or two covers or books on it, it's not going to do that much damage or anything, so it's fine. But having like 5 or 10 books, or especially if they're omnis, like the setup that I had before was kind of like that, and I completely didn't think about that. So I decided to revamp the my bookshelf and realign everything so that way I keep it in as pristine condition as possible. And another thing to take into consideration also is the humidity in your room, because if it's either like really cold or really hot a lot of the times in your room, the paper and the quality of the books can definitely get damaged, especially if you have like your window open and sunlight is getting hit on the books. That's for sure going to damage your books in the long term. So definitely try to put your bookshelf away from all of that in order to keep it in as pristine condition as possible. And then on top of that, if you have any kids or dogs or anything, you definitely want to keep it out of reach from them, because you never know what they're gonna do.
Oh yeah.
Um, or like what accidents might happen, because sometimes like they obviously, if it's like really young kids or especially animals like that, they don't know what they're doing, like. So if you save yourself the headache of them having an accident on a book that you really care about, try to keep it out of reach from them.
Yeah. So pretty much with that, there's also the care of the omnis when you first open them. I know trying to discuss this or talk about this without actually being able to show a visual might not be the same, but if you want to kind of give an example of
Oh
what
yeah,
to do
sure.
with a brand new omni.
Yeah, so another care for, and this you can do this with any book, whether it be omnibus collections or deluxe editions or any hardcovers specifically, because your main thing that you do want to take care of is the spine of the book, because that holds everything together. And if that breaks, then all your pages are going to be falling out everywhere. And in order to open a book properly, um, I'll probably do like a video tutorial about this eventually, and I'll just talk about it briefly. So you want to lay both book ends down flat while holding the all the pages together. I forget what that, they have a name for that, but you want to hold the body of the book right in the middle. And as you have the both book ends laying flat on the table, you want to start turning the pages like one by one, or one at a time, left and right, like each side, to carefully stretch the spine. And that's called stretching the spine for the omnibus. And what that does is stretch it, opens the eye of the book in order for it to stretch, and kind of like get used to it being open on the book and on the spine. It's essentially like breaking in the book versus just opening it forcefully and risking like page damage on the book.
So for those, just to clarify what you're saying,
Yeah.
spine touching the table
Yes.
with like in
On a flat surface.
yeah, on a flat surface, and
Yeah.
then take the front cover and lay it flat, and then take the back
And the
cover and lay
back
it flat.
cover.
So
Yeah.
imagine it like an upside down T.
Yeah, exactly.
And I know a little about this from what you taught me.
Hmm.
You do this partially too, so you don't get what's called gutter loss, and it's when the spine starts breaking, and when you flip pages, they're kind of they're like tucked into the spine, so you can't even fully open the page and
Yeah.
experience all the artwork and the bubbles without having to like separate them and pull them,
Yeah.
and damage the spine further.
Yeah, and that's partially due to the design of the omnibus book, because sometimes these publishers will get some of the designs right when it comes to building the build of the omnibus, and they'll switch it up for some reason, which I completely don't understand, because they'll get it right on one book, and then the next book comes out and they'll get it completely opposite. So yeah, it just depends on the design of the book. I think one of the best ones is Blackest Night, which has sewn binding. versus glued binding. Because if the pages are sewn, it has a better chance of it staying on the spine versus a glued binding where the pages can rip off depending, like I said, on temperature in your room. If the temperature is way too hot, the glue is going to start like melting and loosening the pages, and that could rip out the pages easy when you're turning the pages in the book. So
Have you opened the Flashpoint and done it yet?
no, not yet, because I still have a very specific reading order that I'm gonna get into before I get into that, and it's crazy because this damn book Flashpoint right here kind of like fits in with Bat or Green
Green
Lantern
Lantern.
and the Batman run as well.
Yeah.
So that
Okay, so you want to
yeah,
hit all of that first.
yeah, and I gotta map out the wherever that fits.
Like the
Yeah,
proper reading order.
yeah, because there's a reading order for each character, but there's also event reading orders where you want to read certain things first before you move on to other stories of other
Yeah.
characters, which is, yeah, I'm still working on that.
I was just wondering if you had opened the Flashpoint because I want to know what the binding's like because I haven't opened
Oh,
mine
okay.
and
Yeah,
I
I
don't
haven't
want
checked
to.
it out yet. I think I'm not for sure, but like I believe it should have some binding.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Yeah, because from what I've experienced, the Infinite Crisis and Final Crisis and Blackest Night all have sewn binding, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
We should do a side by side video of us both opening it and doing
Oh, for the
the
Flashpoint.
the spine stretching. That'll be the tutorial. We'll both do it.
Yeah,
See
you
who
can
has
do
the
a
better
tutorial.
binding.
I mean, it should be the same.
I know, I'm just kidding. All right, so to kind of finish this off, and again, some people might, be listening to this like, I already know what you guys are talking about. This isn't also just for, long-term, comic book readers and collectors. This is for, also we do this for new people
Yeah.
who, we were all new to this at one point, and I wish I had podcasts to listen to, to
Yeah.
understand some of this stuff. So the care of floppies might seem, obvious to some people, but I always put everything in a bag and board. Most shops will either have them bagged and board for you, or they'll ask if you want them. Always buy them. If you don't want to buy, them like from them in terms of like per issue, you can always ask them to sell you like a set of 100. Usually cheaper when you do that. Some shops, if you have their like their memberships, like they sell you them like cheaper, so they actually sell you them for what they pay for them, so you actually get them cheaper that way. So bag and board everything. uh, One thing that I highly suggest is if say you only have like 2 boxes and everything you own fits snug in 2 boxes and you don't have time to go buy a third box, alternate the cover facing. So have like the first comic facing one way, the other comic facing out, so the backs are touching, and alternate that. And it stops the edges from bending where the staples are. You get this pretty fat, nasty crease in them, and you can end up damaging some really nice books.
Yeah, that's pretty much the what Joe's talking about is the spine of the floppy.
Yeah. Yeah, you
Yeah.
can end up damaging those. And I damaged a couple, like not realizing how packed my boxes were and keeping them all facing the same way. I
Mhm.
personally am a fan of keeping all my books the same way.
Yeah.
So I usually leave about a third, or yeah, no, not a third. That's like way too much. Maybe like
Like 10% of the box.
nah, not even, maybe like 6 to 7% of the box
Mm.
open where it looks like I can put a handful of issues, but I never fill that. And so I always feel like I have like a lot of space to flip through as well. And I
Yeah.
don't feel like I'm flipping through these like tight, like, packed boxes, but they also don't feel like they're gonna push to one side and bend the book in the back. Cause I had
Yeah.
that happen a while back, and
I remember I was
thankfully
there.
thankfully it wasn't something that I cared too much about. It was something like I snagged out of a dollar bin that was just like, yeah, this looked kind of cool to read. So it wasn't like a huge loss, but it still sucks for anything you spend money on to just see it get damaged. You know,
Yeah,
dollar, $4, $100, whatever.
yeah.
And then
Before you continue, what Joe is talking about, like the boxes that he's mentioning, are the comic book short and long boxes, and it's the boxes that's able to store floppies as opposed to just putting it on your bookshelf or on a coffee table and stuff,
yeah,
because you have a higher chance of it damaging your books if it's just exposed to wherever. So you usually won't want to store them in a short box or long box. Or I think BCW holds some plastic bins as well, specifically designed for comic books, which has a slightly better protection.
yeah,
But you can buy all that stuff either online or most comic book shops should have them, so you could get them all there as well.
yeah. And then for any issue that's worth like a decent value, but like I don't have a lot of space to display this stuff because I have a lot of action figures. I'm a child. I have action figures.
Man child.
Yeah. So you can in my videos, especially in this one, if you're watching on YouTube, you can't really see it. I'm in a different room, but even like my weekly comic book day pickups, like you can't see really anything I have in my room, compared to like just that small shelf that is usually up behind me. You can see like some pops and like a statue or something. That's it's like maybe 5% of like the nonsense that's like propped up in my room. So what I'm getting at is I don't have space to put a lot of comic books and like display them, especially like single issues. Like I
Yeah,
have like one CGC graded one that I keep out just because it looks really cool. But other than that, because I don't want some of these like expensive comics that I've either paid a lot of money for or things that I've bought that have shot up in price. Buying top loaders is definitely the way to go for these things. It's a thicker plastic, so you bag them, board them, and then they fit the bag and board in the top loader perfectly. Like it fits snug, and your dog can jump on it, and it probably won't. Damn, don't actually test that out, but I'm just predicting that it would probably be okay. They're a
yeah,
lot thicker, and I've displayed a couple things like that. I've tried. I end up having to put it up for 2 days and realize it's super inconvenient, and I'm worried about it falling, so I put it away. But I keep stuff in those for that reason. It's definitely the best way to put it outside of in a slab having it graded, but that's just a lot more money
yeah.
if you're looking to spend.
Yeah, and they do have comic book protectors that are kind of like the CGC grading, like slabs and stuff, where it just holds it in a big hard case
Yeah.
without the grading, obviously. But uh, that's a nice way of displaying like some of your favorite issues or like key issues or anything expensive, honestly. But going with the top loader route is definitely what I decided to do, specifically with the Something is Killing the Children series, because I swear, like all of those issues, like from issues 1 through 10 at least, have all been over $20 each. Especially the first 6 issues are like all going for $50 to 300, which is ridiculous. So I make sure I put all those in top loaders because of the value on them. Because I might sell them in the future, because if since my main goal for my comic book collection is collected editions, they might come out with a specifically hardcover collected editions. They might come out with later on in the future, because they already do have the trade paperbacks versions of them, which is
For two.
way which is way more affordable compared to
Yeah.
buying the single issues, which is yeah, the I think the trade paperbacks are only like $15 each.
Yeah. Yeah. There's only two of them right
So
now.
yeah. Yeah, so going the top loader route for I usually use that for either the very expensive comic books that I own or for floppies, or the ones that are just the ones that I really care about, that I know I want to reread in the future. Try to keep them as pristine of a condition compared to when I used to read comic books when I was a kid, where I'll just like read it and just throw it wherever.
And
Yeah,
then The other
Definitely got a lot
option,
of love.
yeah, I know, right? The other option is, and I hate these things. He loves them. I hate them.
Oh,
Are
the
the Mylar
Mylars.
bags?
Yeah,
I
yeah.
hate them because they feel weird and they're loud. Uh, am I wrong?
Yeah,
They're
when you open them, they're definitely a lot louder than your
your
poly
average
bags
bag.
and stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they're annoying, but they're super clear. Like,
yeah,
not the poly bags aren't clear, obviously, or like pretty clear to still see, but these things are like crystal clear.
yeah. They
And
are.
so they make really good like things for display,
Yeah,
in terms of just like just a quick visual. Like, so if you own a shop and just want to prop some stuff up and show it off and it look nice, like poly bags are great for that. But I'm sorry, Mylar bags are great for that. I just don't like
yeah,
them, but they're a little more durable. They can protect them from the sun and, weather
yeah.
a lot better than a poly bag. And to give some credit to Mylar bags, I will actually praise them. I don't know, for anyone on YouTube, I don't know if you can see behind me, but can you see this fish tank?
Yeah.
Okay, so we got two beta fish, and it was just by chance. Somebody had left them in my store, and I wasn't going to let two beta fish just sit there and die. So
Yeah.
I took them. I bought a tank, but I didn't want to buy two separate tanks.
Wait. So you had a customer leave two beta fish at your store at a GameStop?
Yes, two
Wow.
beta fish just sitting there
Was a beta fish in a bag or something? Or
in the little cups that they come in.
oh, okay.
So they were in these little cups,
Yeah.
and despite what people think, betas can live in there, but they live very unhappy, miserable lives.
Yeah.
Imagine if you just sat in a closet all day. That's the equivalent
Yeah.
of a beta being in there. So somebody just left them there, and I was like, well, I can't just leave these things. I'm not just gonna like throw them away here.
Oh,
Like they're alive. Like,
yeah, yeah,
I can't do this. So I
yeah.
text Shelby and I was like, hey, I just got two beta fish. Do you want to go with me to go get a tank after work? So
Oh,
she's
wow.
like, well, yeah, of course. So we go buy a tank, we get everything for him, and I forgot to buy a tank divider because
Oh,
uh,
yeah, yeah.
beta fish can't live together. So I
Yeah.
meant to buy a tank divider for a 10-gallon tank, so they get 5 gallons each. Put a 10-gallon divider in between. Boom, they each get five. They get to live
Mhm.
happy, right? I forgot it that night, and I was like, well, like I don't want to leave one like in here and then one in the cup. Like that sucks. Like the whole reason I bought this was so they didn't have to live in the cup. They can, I
Yeah.
felt bad for them.
Did you rotate shifts? Like, oh, one gets 6 hours in the tank and one gets 6 hours in the cup.
Nope. This is where this what I was bringing up comes into mind. I was like, I got it. I was like, do you have any Mylar bags? And she's like, yeah. I was like, go get them. So she grabs the Mylar bags, and I grabbed
Yeah.
two old boards that we had,
Yeah.
and I put the boards in the Mylar bags.
Yeah.
I set them in the tank, like on top of each other, and I slide them apart to where they're now only partially overlapping, and this end is on that end of the tank, and this end is on that
Yeah.
end of the tank. Uh, for anyone listening and not watching, that might not make sense because I just did a visual explanation.
Yeah.
So I pulled it out, like I turned it like sideways, took it out
Yeah.
so I didn't lose that, that spacing, and we
Yeah.
put tape around it, and I put it back in there, and it fit
Yeah.
perfect, and it held for 4 days before I
Oh,
can go
wow.
find because I had to find a 10
The
gallon
divider.
divider.
Yeah.
Plus,
Yeah.
like I had to work, so my
Yeah.
work hours were also interfering with hours that these stores were open.
Yeah.
So I couldn't go, but it took me 4 days to finally go and get one. And it held, and when I took it out,
Yeah.
the bags were soaked, obviously, but the boards inside were still dry.
No way.
So they sat
Wow.
bags and boards in a Mylar bag in
Yeah.
10 gallons of water for 4 days, and never once did the board inside get wet.
Dude, that's insane.
Yeah, so for anyone wondering how durable Mylar bags are, there you go.
They're durable.
Durable.
That's
I thought you'd like that.
yeah.
But yeah,
Uh,
I love Mylar bags for that reason. I hate them for
yeah,
my comic books, but they kept my
yeah.
fish alive.
Yeah, which is funny because my the manager at the comic book store that I go to, I ended up giving her a very late Christmas gift because she was able to help me with getting into comic book collecting when it came to single issues last
Yeah,
year. She told me what incentives are, like what a pull list is and stuff, and she was able to hold like certain issues and variants for me and whatnot. So she helped me out a lot, and I wanted to thank her for doing that for me. So I had ordered this variant cover for her for Stray Dogs issue 1. It was like a Poltergeist homage cover. So I got that for her, but I put it in a Mylar bag instead of a poly regular bag and board, and she didn't really, even though she had it at her shop, she doesn't really use it at all, like on a daily basis for comic book collecting, or even her like um I think rare comics and issues and stuff. So when I gifted that to her, she noticed like how much more durable it is and how much more pristine it displayed the comic book issue. So she was, pretty what do you call it, surprised by it. So she decided to start getting those specifically for like the very expensive issues that she has, or
yeah,
like variants that she has. So now she collects that and uses that for her higher quality books, which is cool.
that's awesome.
And yeah, so I personally don't use them because more on the expensive side and use top loaders for everything that I can.
Yeah, I just don't use them. I hate them. I know you've like been like pro Mylar. Like I said, I know
Yeah,
you
no,
don't
they're
use
great.
them, but
Yeah,
you talk highly of them. I hate them.
yeah.
They're loud and they
um,
feel weird. But
I mean,
no,
it's something that you get used to, I guess,
yeah,
or I don't know.
they're great for fish tanks. So
They're great for fish tanks. Yeah.
so you learn something new every day, right?
Yeah, and I'm kind of wondering. I haven't done a test, but like maybe I'll do like a test thing where once summer, like really hot summer is around, and see and like put I'll sacrifice a book to for this test to see how much protection it'll get like from the sun.
I got an idea. Um, Over at the
Namor
shop,
issues.
yes, no.
Sacrifice and not Namor issues.
We'll put those in the fish tank in the Mylar, and since it's appropriate. Uh, no, over at the shop up the street from me, um, amazing. I'm not amazing, Atomic.
uh-huh.
They have the dollar bin, and I have a couple uh like certificate of things, just like free dollar comic.
Yeah.
I might be able to just cash a couple of those in, and like they have a. I don't want to speak bad of that shop. I don't like speaking bad of shops. Like they supply me with unlimited, entertainment, but their
Yeah.
dollar bin, like how about their dollar bin is not the greatest dollar bin I've ever seen.
It's not.
And that they have some stuff in there that I wouldn't even want to pay $1 for. So with that, since I'm never going to use those things, I'll just grab two random like issues that look like they're in good condition
Yeah.
from there, and then we can test it out with a poly and a mylar and a and no bag, and we'll leave them out in the sun
Yeah.
for like a
And
week
bake.
and see like
Yeah.
what they look like after the week.
And which offers the best protection. I think
Yeah,
I'd probably want to try out the top loaders too.
I'm done. No, I think I have 4 or 5 of them.
Nice.
So I'll see if I can find like the same issue.
Yeah,
See if
yeah.
they have like 4 of the same issue of something in there, and I'll
Yeah.
grab it, and then we'll like test it out.
Yeah,
We'll
we're doing
see.
science experiments for comic books.
I know, right? Just to test like
Yeah.
how good and bad, and then after that, we'll dip them in water for 4 days.
Yeah. Mylar's already passed, so
I know, right? We already realized for 4 days the Mylar won.
yeah.
But okay,
Yeah.
so that's pretty much it. That's all I have to add to this. I don't know if you have anything else you want to say about caring for your collection.
Um all I have to say is if you guys have any questions or concerns or even recommendations, maybe stuff that we're not aware of when it comes to comic book collecting, feel free to put all that stuff in the comments down below, and we'll definitely get back into you, and would love to communicate with you guys in regards to comic book collecting. Or if you guys even have any if you guys want to ask us recommendations on what to collect and how to collect certain things, yeah, feel free to ask us on that as well. And one thing I forgot to mention earlier is if you guys do have an Instagram, feel free to give us a follow on comiXalliance. That's spelled ComiXalliance, where we post very often with comic book posts, weekly pull videos, and comic book of the week posts, and variant posts as well. So feel free to check us out on that. And we do our weekly podcast Sunday nights, and post them or have them posted by Monday morning. So.
And by Monday morning, we mean like 1 a.m.
Yeah.
So they're up there early.
Yeah, and if there are any videos or podcast topics that you'd like us to try to do or see in the future, feel free to comment that down below as well.
Sounds good. All right, so I think that wraps it up for tonight. Thank you for covering all that, and thank you guys if you've made it this far listening. He already plugged our Instagram, so I don't have to go that far. Just thanks for hanging out, listening, and we look forward to another podcast with you guys next week. All right, have
Thanks
a good
so
night.
much, guys.